Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto was the third son of Sparda, the Dragon Sage de Vil, Naruto x Lady x Trish x Lucia, Devil May Cry. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Blood Awakens. Moonlight fractured across Konoha's eastern border, silvering the dense canopy where Naruto crouched motionless on a gnarled branch. 20 hours into this surveillance mission, and his instincts screamed that something was profoundly wrong. The forest felt wrong, too silent, as if nature itself recoiled from whatever lurked in the shadows. 4 Anbu squad members had disappeared investigating strange chakra signatures last week. 2 Jonin sent after them had returned babbling about red-eyed shadows, before dying from wounds that refused to heal. Lady Soon, 8 had personally requested Naruto's involvement, despite protests from certain council members. "You sense things others don't," she had said, amber eyes narrowed with something beyond concern, something almost like recognition. "Find our people, or what happened to them?" Now, with midnight approaching, Naruto understood why he'd been chosen. The air vibrated with a peculiar energy that wasn't chakra, something thicker, almost sulfurous, that resonated with something buried deep inside him. He'd felt similar sensations all his life, brief, unexplainable moments of connection to something. His teammates attributed his uncanny sensing abilities to the Nine Tails, but this felt different. More personal, like calling to like. The earpiece crackled. "Sector 7 clear," came Shikamaru's measured voice. "Too clear. Not even nocturnal wildlife." "Same here," Naruto whispered, azure eyes scanning the treeline. "Something's driving everything away. Troublesome. Sakura's team is checking the ravine. Meet at checkpoint Delta in 15. Naruto tapped acknowledgement, then froze as a distant scream shattered the unnatural quiet. Human, female, unmistakably Sakura. Not a cry of surprise, but of horror. He moved without conscious thought, body flickering through the trees with preternatural speed that outpaced even his usual capabilities. Branches whipped past as he channeled chakra to his legs, covering ground at a rate that would have impressed Gai-sensei. 3 minutes to reach her position, an eternity. The ravine opened beneath him suddenly, moonlight illuminating a scene from Nightmare. Sakura stood backed against stone, kunai raised defensively before her. Kiba lay unconscious to her left, Akamaru whimpering beside him. And facing them, Naruto's mind struggled to process what he saw. 3 humanoid figures moved with jerky, unnatural motions, their skin corpse pale where it wasn't covered with ridged, chitinous plates. Their arms terminated in hooked, scythe-like appendages that gleamed wetly in the moonlight. But it was their faces that froze Naruto's blood, human enough to recognize, yet wrong, with empty eye sockets filled with swirling crimson light. ND mouths that split horizontally to reveal rows of needle teeth. Not human, Naruto breathed, the revelation striking him with absolute certainty. Not summoning animals either. Whatever these things were, they weren't of this world. Sakura spotted him. "Naruto, their blood is acidic. Don't let it touch you. Can I barely slow them?" The creatures turned as one, those empty crimson gazes locking onto him with predatory focus. Something about their movements suggested intelligence and hunger. The central figure cocked its head, a wet, clicking sound emanating from its throat. "SSSSSPPPAAARRRDAAAA," it hissed. The word barely recognizable through its inhuman mouth. Naruto didn't know what that meant, but something beneath his skin flared in response, a hot, electric sensation unlike chakra or even the Nine Tails energy. For a heartbeat, his vision sharpened impossibly, the night forest becoming as clear as midday. No time to wonder. The creatures lunged with shocking speed, covering 20 meters in an eye blink. Naruto's hands formed seals instinctively. Shadow clone jutsu. 4 duplicates materialized and scattered, drawing the creatures' attention in different directions. Naruto dropped from the branch, summoning a Rasengan as he fell. The swirling sphere of chakra illuminated the clearing with pale blue light as he drove it into the back of the nearest creature. The Rasengan connected with a sound like grinding metal. The creature shrieked, a high, oscillating wail that hurt Naruto's ears. Instead of bursting apart like a normal opponent, its chitinous plates cracked and dark. Oil like blood sprayed outward. Where droplets touched Naruto's sleeve, the fabric sizzled and dissolved. Acid, he gasped, leaping back as his clone engaged the wounded creature. The thing whirled with unexpected grace, slicing the clone in half before it could react. Instead of the usual puff of smoke, the clone briefly glowed with blue-white light before dissolving. "What the hell?" Naruto muttered. His clones had never dispersed like that before. No time to think. The wounded creature staggered toward Sakura while the other two converged on Naruto, moving in perfect coordination. One fainted low while the other leapt high, forcing him to divide his attention. "Behind you," Sakura shouted, hurling her kunai past Naruto's ear. The blade struck the leaping creature's throat, embedding deep. Black blood fountained, but instead of falling, it twisted midair and kept coming. Something hot and urgent surged through Naruto's veins. The world slowed fractionally. He pivoted, drawing on speed he didn't know he possessed, and drove a kunai upward with both hands. The creature fell onto his blade, its momentum carrying the weapon through its jaw and into whatever passed for its brain. The crimson light in its eye sockets flickered, dimmed, died. One down, two remaining. The second creature slashed at him. Naruto rolled sideways, the side arm missing by millimeters. Close enough that he felt the displacement of air against his cheek. He kicked upward into its abdomen, channeling chakra into his foot. The blow lifted the creature off the ground, but it recovered faster than any human could. Twisting like a cat to land on all fours. "Sakura, get Kiba out of here," Naruto called, summoning more clones to provide cover. "I'm not leaving you." That wasn't a request. Something in Naruto's voice, a deeper, commanding resonance he'd never heard from himself before, made Sakura hesitate, then nod sharply. She slung Kiba over her shoulder, whistled for Akamaru, and retreated up the ravine wall. Alone now, Naruto faced the two remaining creatures. The injured one he'd hit with the Rasengan moved erratically, black blood still oozing from cracked plates. The other circled warily, those burning eyes fixed on him with disturbing intensity. "SSSSPPAAARRRDAAAA," it hissed again, the sound raising goosebumps along Naruto's arms. "Blood awakens SSSS. I don't know what you're saying," Naruto growled, "but you picked the wrong village to attack." He formed seals for a wind technique, but before he could complete it, searing pain lan. CED through his abdomen, not from any wound, but from within. His chakra network felt suddenly aflame, as if responding to the creature's presence. The nine tails stirred restlessly behind its seal, but this wasn't its doing. This was something else, something that had lain dormant in his blood until now. The pain intensified. Naruto gasped, momentarily dropping to one knee. The creatures sensed weakness and charged simultaneously. Time seemed to slow. In that stretched moment, Naruto felt something inside him give way. A barrier, a seal, a lock on something that had always been part of him. Power flooded his system. Different from chakra or the nine tails' energy, hotter, more volatile, yet undeniably his. His vision sharpened again, colors intensifying. He could suddenly see the patterns of air currents. Could hear the creatures, inhuman heartbeats, could smell the sulfurous tang of their blood. His right arm moved without conscious direction, slashing upward. A blade of pure energy, not chakra, but something else entirely, extended from his hand, cleaving through the first creature from groin to skull. It didn't even have time to scream before collapsing into a steaming puddle of dissolving matter. The second creature hesitated, its head tilting as if reassessing its prey. That pause was fatal. Naruto lunged forward with speed that surprised even himself, driving his still glowing hand directly into its chest. He felt chitin crack, felt unnatural organs rupture around his fingers. The creature convulsed, its scythe arms flailing uselessly. Those crimson eyes flared once, brighter, then extinguished. Silence fell over the ravine. Naruto stared at his hand as the energy faded. No residual chakra burn, no fatigue from technique use. Whatever he'd just done, it had felt. As natural as breathing, and terrifyingly unfamiliar simultaneously. What was that? He whispered to the empty clearing. The corpse at his feet began to dissolve, sublimating into foul-smelling smoke that dissipated on the night breeze. Within moments, nothing remained but scorched earth where it had fallen. A twig snapped behind him. Naruto whirled, still riding the surge of strange power, to find himself staring down the barrel of the most peculiar weapon he'd ever seen. It resembled a metal tube with a handle, pointed directly at his face. Behind it stood a woman unlike any he'd encountered in the elemental nations. She was tall and athletic, clad in a white blouse beneath a sleeveless vest, practical shorts, and sturdy boots. Dark hair framed a striking face with heterochromatic eyes, one blue, one red, currently narrowed in suspicion. Multiple holsters around her waist and thighs held additional strange weapons, and a larger version of the metal tube was slung across her back. "Don't move," she ordered in a voice accented differently from any region Naruto knew. "What are you? You're not fully human, but you're not demon either." "I could ask you the same thing," Naruto replied, tensing for possible combat. "This is Hidden Leaf territory. Identify yourself." The woman's eyes flicked to the scorched earth where the creatures had dissolved, then back to Naruto's face. "You killed Hell Prides without conventional weapons. That makes you either very skilled or very dangerous. Possibly both." "Hell Prides," Naruto repeated. "Is that what those things were called?" A flicker of surprise crossed her face. "You don't know, yet you discharged devil energy to destroy them. Interesting." She kept the weapon trained on him but adjusted her stance slightly. "I'm Lady, a devil hunter. I track and eliminate demons that cross into the human world." Devil hunter. The words resonated strangely, like a half-remembered dream. "These demons, they've been attacking our ninjas for weeks." "Ninjas?" Now Lady looked genuinely confused. "Where exactly am I? This doesn't look like any part of the human world I recognize." Before Naruto could answer, another wave of pain coursed through him. The strange energy that had surged earlier now retreated, but not completely. As if awakened, it lingered just beneath his skin, changing him subtly. He gasped, doubling over. Lady immediately stepped back, weapon raising. "What's happening to you? Are you turning?" "I don't know," Naruto managed through gritted teeth. "Something's changing." The pain loca lizzed to his abdomen, specifically to the seal containing the 9 tails. Naruto yanked up his shirt to see the spiral marking glowing with an unfamiliar crimson light. The design was changing, adagio. Null patterns emerging between the original lines, forming what looked like draconic scales arranged in circular patterns. "A devil mark," Lady breathed, eyes widening. "But different from any I've seen." The pain peaked, then subsided to a dull throb. The new pattern settled into Naruto's skin, the glow fading but the design remaining, black ink interwoven with the original seal. "What did they do to me?" Naruto asked, pressing his palm against the altered seal. Lady lowered her weapon fractionally. "They didn't do anything. They recognized something in you, something that was already there." Her heterochromatic gaze studied him intently. "They called you Sparda, didn't they?" Naruto's head snapped up. "You heard that? What does it mean?" Before she could answer, voices called from above. Sakura had returned with reinforcements. Shikamaru, Neji, and Captain Yamato leapt down the ravine wall toward them. Lady instantly raised her weapon again, pivoting to cover the newcomers. "Friends," Naruto said quickly, stepping between them. "My team." Lady didn't look convinced but didn't fire. "This conversation isn't finished," she said quietly. "If you're what I think you are, we have much to discuss." Sakura reached them first, medical pack already open. "Naruto, are you hurt? What happened to those creatures?" Her gaze landed on Lady and narrowed suspiciously. "Who is this?" "An ally," Naruto said, making a split-second decision. "She knows what those things were." Shikamaru's sharp eyes took in the scorched earth, Lady's strange weapons, and Naruto's exposed, altered seal. His expression remained neutral, but Naruto recognized the calculating look. "We should continue this discussion somewhere secure," Yamato suggested, glancing warily at the surrounding forest. "If there are more of these creatures nearby, we're exposed here." "There will be more," Lady confirmed grimly. "Hell Prides rarely travel alone. They're scouts for larger incursions." "Troublesome," Shikamaru sighed. "Lady Tsunade needs to hear this." "Agreed," Yamato said. "But first," he turned to Lady, wood-style chakra gathering subtly at his fingertips, a precaution Naruto recognized. "I'm afraid we'll need to secure your weapons before entering our village." Lady's stance shifted, danger radiating from her. My weapons don't leave my possession. Then neither do you, Neji stated flatly. Byakugan activating to study her chakra network. His eyes widened slightly. Captain, her energy signature is unusual. Not chakra as we understand it. Like those creatures? Yamato asked sharply. No, Neji replied, still staring. Different, but equally foreign. Tension crackled between them until Naruto stepped forward. She saved my life, he lied smoothly, surprising him. Self with how easily the fabrication came. And she has information we need. I'll vouch for her. Yamato hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. Your call, Naruto. But she's your responsibility. Lady's eyes narrowed at Naruto. Clearly recognizing the lie but playing along. Fine, I'll cooperate, for now. But I keep my weapons. Acceptable, Yamato conceded. But any threatening move, yeah, you'll turn me into fertilizer. Lady finished dismissively. I get it. Lead the way. As they prepared to move out, Lady fell into step beside Naruto. Why did you lie for me? She asked quietly. Because you have answers. Naruto replied simply. About Sparda. About what's happening to me. He glanced down at his hand, remembering the strange energy blade he'd manifested. I need to understand. Lady studied him for a long moment. What's your name? Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. Something flickered in her mismatched eyes. Recognition, perhaps, or confirmation of suspicion. Well, Naruto Uzumaki, if you're who, or what, I think you are, understanding might be the least of your problems. The Hokage's office hummed with tension. Lady lounged against the wall, arms crossed, weapon still conspicuously in place, a concession Tsunade had made after a brief but intense standoff. Shizune stood protectively near the Hokage's desk, while Kakashi leaned by the window, appearing relaxed but watchful. Let me get this straight, Tsunade said, fingers steepled before her. You claim to be from another world or dimension, where you hunt these demons professionally. You followed a group of them through some kind of portal, and now find yourself here. That about covers it, Lady agreed with a casual shrug that didn't match her alert eyes. Though I didn't expect to find a world of ninjas on the other side. Or someone with dormant devil blood. All eyes shifted to Naruto, who stood uncomfortably in the center of the room, shirt raised to display his altered seal. You recognized this pattern, Tsunade pressed. Explain. Lady hesitated. It's complicated. Uncomplicate it, Kakashi suggested mildly, his visible eye crinkling in what might have been a smile but felt more like a threat. Lady sighed. Fine. The original marking was something I'm not familiar with, but the new pattern overlaying it is definitely a devil crest, a kind of bloodline marker. Similar to ones I've seen before, but with differences. Her heterochromatic gaze fixed on Naruto. When those hell prides called you Sparda, they weren't addressing you directly. They were recognizing your bloodline. Sparda, Naruto repeated, the name feeling strangely right on his tongue. Who or what is that? Not who. Who was, Lady corrected. Sparda was a legendary devil knight who led against his own kind to protect humanity, 2,000 years ago. He sealed the demon world away from the human world, then remained in our realm as its protector. Her expression softened fractionally. He's also been dead for decades. Quote, what does this have to do with Naruto? Tsunade demanded. Lady pushed off from the wall, approaching Naruto. She studied his features intently, then glanced at his altered seal again. The pattern emerging there, it's a variation of the Sparda crest. Combined with your unusual abilities and the Hell Pride's reaction, she looked Naruto directly in the eyes. I think you carry Sparda's blood. You're his descendant, possibly his son. Stunned silence filled the office. That's impossible, Shizune finally said. We know who Naruto's parents were. Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. Adoptive parents, perhaps, Lady suggested. Or maybe one was his biological parent and the other wasn't. Kushina was definitely my mother, Naruto said firmly. I've spoken with her chakra imprint. There's no doubt. Lady nodded slowly. Then perhaps Sparda was involved with your mother at some point. It wouldn't be unprecedented. He lived among humans for centuries. Even married a human woman. This is absurd, Tsunade scoffed. We're talking about a demon from another dimension fathering a child with one of our kunoichi. How would that even be possible? The same way these demons found their way here, Lady countered. Dimensional barriers aren't absolute. They thin in places, allowing crossing points. If Sparda discovered such a crossing, Naruto touched the altered seal pensively. It would explain some things. I've always healed unusually fast, even accounting for the 9 tails. And sometimes I've felt different. Like there was something else inside me, separate from the fox. Kakashi straightened from his casual pose. Lady Tsunade, while this seems far-fetched, we can't dismiss the evidence. Those creatures Naruto's team encountered weren't summonings or any known jutsu creation. And their interest in Naruto specifically. Tsunade massaged her temples. So what are we dealing with? An invasion from this demon world? Possibly. Lady acknowledged. Though why now, and why here, I can't say. Dimensional crossings usually require significant power on at least one side. The fourth great ninja war, Naruto suggested suddenly. All that chakra being thrown around, especially from the 10 tails, could that have weakened whatever barriers exist between our worlds? Lady looked impressed. That's actually an insightful hypothesis. Major power expenditures can indeed create dimensional instabilities. If that's true, Shizune said worriedly, we could be facing more incursions. Count on it, Lady confirmed grimly. Those hell prides were just scouts. Where they go, stronger demons follow. Tsunade leaned back, considering. We'll increase border patrols and warn the other villages. Kakashi, I want you to work with Lady to develop effective countermeasures against these creatures. Of course, Kakashi agreed. And Naruto? Tsunade turned to him, her expression softening slightly. I want you to undergo a complete examination. If your heritage is awakening, we need to understand what that means for you and the 9 tails. Naruto nodded, though unease settled in his stomach. What about my team? Do we tell them everything? Tsunade considered this. Limited disclosure for now. Sakura, Shikamaru, and Captain Yamato should know enough to work effectively with you. But I want to avoid widespread panic about interdimensional demons. Wise, Lady commented. Panic never improves a demon situation. As the meeting concluded and people began filing out, Lady caught Naruto's arm. There's something else you should know, she said quietly. If you truly are of Sparda's bloodline, you're in danger beyond just random demon attacks. His blood is powerful, a RCE of immense energy that many would kill to possess or control. Naruto grimaced. Wouldn't be the first time I've been targeted for what's inside me. Lady studied him with surprising sympathy. No, I suppose not. But this is different. The 9 tails, as you call it, is contained within you. Sparda's blood is you. It's becoming active now, integrating with your existing powers. Is that bad? It's unprecedented, she replied carefully, which means unpredictable. You should prepare yourself for changes. Naruto's hand unconsciously moved to his altered seal. I've had to adapt before. I'll handle this too. Lady's lips quirked in what might have been the ghost of a smile. I believe you will. The examination room in Konoha Hospital's secure wing felt sterile and cold. Naruto sat shirtless on the examination table as Sakura studied the altered seal with professional detachment. Nearby, Tsunade consulted with a seal specialist from the intelligence division. Does it hurt? Sakura asked, fingers hovering just above the new markings. Not anymore, Naruto replied. It feels warm, like it belongs there. Sakura's brow furrowed. The new pattern isn't interfering with the 8 trigrams seal. But it's definitely integrated with it somehow. I've never seen anything like this. None of us have, Tsunade interjected, approaching with a scroll. We're in uncharted territory. The door slid open, and Lady entered alongside Kakashi. She'd finally relinquished her larger weapons but still wore her pistols, a compromise she'd apparently negotiated with the copy ninja. Find anything useful? Tsunade asked them. Kakashi held up a small leather-bound journal. Lady has been documenting devil encounters for years. We've been comparing their vulnerabilities to our jutsu types. Some interesting correlations. Fire techniques seem most effective, Lady added. Lightning next. Water barely registers with most types. Earth can slow them but rarely stops them. And wind? Naruto asked, thinking of his primary affinity. Variable, Lady replied. Depends on the demon type. Against hell prides, not especially effective unless compressed to razor sharpness. Sakura completed her examination and stepped back. The seal is stable for now, but I'd recommend daily monitoring. Any significant changes should be reported immediately. Agreed, Tsunade said. Naruto, you're on restricted duty until we better understand what's happening with you. No solo missions. Naruto started to protest but stopped when he caught Lady's warning glance. Fine, he agreed reluctantly. Actually, Kakashi interjected smoothly, I have a proposal. Since Lady is our only expert on these demons, and Naruto appears to be developing abilities specifically effective against them, perhaps they should work together. A specialized response team. Tsunade considered this. Not a bad idea, but I want a full Konoha team as backup. Sakura for medical support, and perhaps Sai for reconnaissance. I work alone, Lady stated flatly. Not in my village, you don't, Tsunade countered, matching her tone. The women stared each other down until Naruto cleared his throat. I think it's a good compromise. Lady knows demons, we know the territory. Together we're stronger. Lady rolled her eyes but nodded reluctantly. Fine, but I lead when it comes to demon engagement. Agreed, Tsunade said. Kakashi, formalize the team structure. I want them ready to deploy at the first sign of another incursion. As the meeting broke up, Naruto pulled his shirt back on and caught up to Lady in the hallway. Thanks for agreeing to the team arrangement. I know you'd prefer to hunt solo. Lady gave him a sidelong glance. Let's be clear, I'm staying because you interest me. A newly awakened devil blood with no training is a liability to himself and everyone around him. So you're going to train me? Naruto asked, surprised. Someone has to, she replied pragmatically. If you really are Sparda's son, or grandson, or whatever, your potential power is significant. Better you learn to control it than have it explode at an inopportune moment. Naruto grinned. I'm a fast learner. You'd better be, Lady replied, but her tone had softened fractionally. Meet me at Training Ground 7 tomorrow at dawn. Wear something you don't mind destroying. As she walked away, Naruto felt another subtle pulse from his altered seal, not painful this time, but a warm reminder of the changes occurring within him. He placed his palm over it, wondering what other surprises his newly discovered heritage would bring. He was still standing there, lost in thought, when Sakura approached from behind. You okay? She asked quietly. Naruto managed a smile. Yeah, just processing. It's a lot to take in. I can imagine. Her green eyes studied him carefully. Finding out you might be part demon from another dimension would throw anyone. Does it bother you? He asked hesitantly. Sakura considered this, then shook her head firmly. You're still Naruto. 9 tails, demon blood, or whatever else. That doesn't change who you are at your core. She smiled wryly. Though I admit, your life does get more complicated in ways nobody could predict. Tell me about it, he sighed, then straightened his shoulders. But I'll handle it, always do. I know, she said simply, with complete confidence that warmed him. Twilight painted Konoha in shades of amber and violet as Naruto made his way to his apartment. The village continued its normal routines. Civilians and ninja going about their business, blissfully unaware of interdimensional threats and awakening devil bloodlines. How strange to walk among them carrying such secrets, Naruto thought. But then, hadn't he always lived with secrets? The 9 tails, his parentage, the prophecies, just one more layer to his already complicated existence. He turned down the street to his building and immediately sensed something wrong. His apartment door stood slightly ajar, a thin line of light spilling into the darkened hallway. Naruto approached cautiously, a kunai materializing in his hand. Standard protocol would be to call for backup. But curiosity overrode caution. Pushing the door open with his foot, Naruto tensed for an attack. None came. His apartment appeared undisturbed, except for a single item placed precisely in the center of his kitchen table, an ancient-looking scroll tied with crimson cord, sealed with wax impressed with a symbol similar to the one now overlaying his original seal. The scroll practically radiated power, not chakra, but that other energy he was beginning to recognize. Devil energy, he murmured, approaching slowly. No traps registered to his senses. Yuto set down his kunai and carefully lifted the scroll. The moment his fingers touched the parchment, the seal cracked, wax falling away as if recognizing his touch. The cord unwound itself, actually, moving of its own accord, and the scroll unrolled. Ancient script filled the parchment, in a language Naruto had never seen before. Yet somehow, he could read it perfectly. To my third son, when the blood awakens, the scroll began. Naruto's breath caught. With shaking hands, he carefully spread the scroll wider and began to read. If you are reading this, then what I feared has come to pass. Boundaries between worlds have thinned, allowing passage where none should exist. Your dormant blood has awakened in response to this threat, as it was designed to do. I am Sparda, Knight of the Demon World, Protector of Humanity. And, if you are reading this, your mother was Kaoru Uzumaki, last sage of the Dragon Covenant, guardian of the boundaries between our realms. Our union was brief but profound, born of shared purpose and, yes, of love. She foresaw that our child would inherit both lineages, my devil power and her sage chakra, creating a guardian who could walk in both worlds. You were to be our masterwork, our legacy, our hope should the dimensional barriers ever fail. I cannot know what circumstances have awakened your blood, nor what challenges you now face. But know this, you were born for a purpose greater than either world alone. The Dragon Sage Devil, that is your birthright and your burden. Sealed within this scroll is a fragment of my power, freely given. To accelerate what has already begun. Accept it only if you choose this path willingly, for it cannot be undone. Whether you embrace or reject this heritage, you are my son. In that, take pride. Sparda. At the bottom of the scroll was a second seal, larger, more complex, pulsing with barely contained power. Unlike the wax seal, this one remained intact, waiting. Naruto stared at it, emotions warring within him. Shock, disbelief, anger at secrets kept, yet also a strange sense of completion, as if puzzle pieces long missing had finally been found. Kaoru Uzumaki, a name he'd never heard, yet apparently his birth mother. Not Kushina, who had sacrificed everything for him, who he'd always believed was his biological mother. Who brought this here? He wondered aloud, glancing around his empty apartment. The window remained closed, the wards undisturbed. No one could have entered without leaving some trace, unless they weren't entirely human. A soft sound drew his attention to the shadows by his bedroom door. A figure stepped forward, a woman unlike any he'd seen before. Tall and elegant, with platinum blonde hair falling past her shoulders, clad in tight black leather. That seemed both practical and provocative. Her eyes held an otherworldly luminescence, and her perfect features suggested something not quite human. Who are you? Naruto demanded, instantly alert. How did you get in here? The woman smiled, a predatory expression that didn't reach her eyes. My name is Trish. As for how I got in, she snapped her fingers, and electricity danced briefly across her palm. I have my methods. You're not human, Naruto stated, recognizing the energy signature, similar to the demons he'd faced, yet different, more controlled. Not entirely, she agreed. Much like yourself, it seems. Her gaze dropped to the scroll he still held. I see you've received your inheritance. You brought this. I've been its keeper for some time. Trish circled the table, movements liquid and graceful. Sparda entrusted it to me before his disappearance. To be delivered when his third child's blood awakened. How did you find me? Her smile widened. Devil blood calls to its own kind. Once it activated within you, locating you was simple enough. She gestured to the scroll. Have you decided? Naruto glanced down at the secondary seal. Decided what? Whether to accept the gift. Trish replied, as if it were obvious. The fragment of Sparda's power. It will accelerate your transformation. Into what, exactly? Trish shrugged elegantly. Something neither fully human nor fully devil. Something new. Her eyes glittered with something like anticipation. Something potentially magnificent. Naruto rolled the scroll carefully, buying time to think. You knew Sparda personally. Yes, she answered simply, offering nothing more. And my mother, Kaoru Uzumaki. Something flickered across Trish's perfect features, a brief shadow of emotion quickly suppressed. No, she was before my time. But I know she was powerful, a sage of remarkable ability. She studied Naruto closely. You have her eyes. And her determination, I suspect. Naruto placed the scroll on the table. Decision forming. I need time to understand what this means. To decide if this is what I want. Trish looked mildly disappointed but nodded. Of course. The choice must be yours. She moved toward the door with that same inhuman grace. But don't take too long. The incursions will increase. The demons you faced today were mere foot soldiers. What comes next will be far worse. She paused at the threshold. I'll be watching, son of Sparda. Your decision affects more than just yourself. With that, she was gone, leaving only the faint scent of ozone behind. Naruto stared at the closed door. Then back at the ancient scroll. 2 mothers, 2 heritages, 2 worlds. And now, 2 paths before him. The 9 tails stirred within its cage for the first time since the seal had changed. Interesting. Asterisk, it rumbled in Naruto's mind. The dragon blood awakens at last. Asterisk. You knew. Naruto demanded internally. All this time, you knew what I was. The fox's laughter echoed through his consciousness. I've been sealed within Uzumaki hosts for generations, Kit. Did you think Kushina was your birth mother? How convenient that you resembled the 4th Hokage just enough to pass as his son. Asterisk. Then who was Kaoru? Why have I never heard of her? The dragon sage, the 9 tails murmured, almost respectfully. Even I, with all my power, gave her space. She walked between worlds as easily as humans walk through doors. When she appeared in Konoha with an infant, claiming relation to Kushina, few questioned it. Fewer still knew when she disappeared, leaving you in Kushina's care. Asterisk. And Sparda, a legend even among demons. That his blood runs in your veins. The fox seemed genuinely impressed. It explains much about your unnaturally strong life force. Even among Uzumaki, your vitality is exceptional. Asterisk. Naruto sat heavily in a kitchen chair, mind reeling. Why tell me now? You've kept this secret for years. The seal changed, the 9 tails replied simply. The barriers between us have thinned, just as the barriers between worlds have thinned. I can sense more of your thoughts, your feelings. And you can now handle truths once hidden. Asterisk. Outside, thunder rolled across Konoha as storm clouds gathered. Rain began to patter against the windows, matching Naruto's turbulent emotions. The scroll awaits your decision, the fox reminded him. Will you accept your birthright? Or reject it and remain incomplete? Asterisk. Naruto touched the scroll pensively. Would you, if you were me? The 9 tails was silent for so long that Naruto thought it had withdrawn. Finally, it spoke, its voice uncharacteristically solemn. Power always has its price, Kit. Always. But sometimes the price of refusing power is greater still. Asterisk. With that cryptic statement, the fox retreated into the depths of Naruto's mind, leaving him alone with the ancient scroll and the weight of decision. Outside, the storm intensified, lightning splitting the sky over Konoha, a village blissfully unaware that its boundaries now stretched far beyond the elemental nations, into realms where ancient devils stirred and dimensional walls crumbled. And at the center of it all, a young man with whisker marks on his cheeks and newly awakened devil blood in his veins contemplated a future suddenly far more complex than he had ever imagined. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, Legacies Intertwined. Dawn bled across Konoha's horizon in watercolor strokes of crimson and gold. Naruto hadn't slept. The ancient scroll lay on his kitchen table where he'd left it, radiating quiet power like a slumbering predator. Twice during the night, he'd reached for it. Twice, he'd withdrawn his hand before touching the secondary seal. He'd spent hours in meditation instead, probing the altered seal on his abdomen, feeling how the 9 tails chakra now intermingled with something else, something that tasted of lightning and smelled of steel and sang in his blood with primal familiarity. Sparda, he whispered to his empty apartment, testing the name that supposedly belonged to his biological father. The word felt right on his tongue, like a jutsu he'd always known but never performed. Outside, the village stirred to life. Merchants opened shops, ninjas departed for missions, children raced toward the academy. Normal life continuing while Naruto's world had fundamentally shifted. The clock read 5:47 a.m. Lady would be waiting at Training Ground 7. Yet Naruto found himself heading toward the Hokage Tower instead, the scroll secured in a place. AIM carrying tubes strapped across his back. He needed answers before making any irrevocable decisions. The administrative wing stood mostly empty this early. Naruto bypassed the reception desk with a casual wave to the half-asleep Shunin stationed there. 3 flights of stairs later, he stood outside Tsunade's office, sensing her presence within despite the early hour. He knocked once, then chaired without waiting for permission, a privilege few in Konoha would dare claim. Tsunade sat behind mountains of paperwork, an empty sake bottle discreetly tucked beneath her desk. She looked up, unsurprised by his arrival. Couldn't sleep, she asked, noting his appearance. Would you? Naruto countered, closing the door behind him. After learning everything you thought you knew about yourself might be a lie. Tsunade sighed, pushing aside a stack of mission reports. I expected you earlier, honestly. The casual admission sent a jolt through Naruto. You knew, he said flatly. About Sparda, about Kaoru Uzumaki. All of it, not a question, a statement. Tsunade didn't flinch from his accusatory stare. Not all of it, fragments, legends, whispers. She opened a drawer, withdrawing a slim folder stamped with classification seals. The third left this for his successors. Information deemed too sensitive for general knowledge, even within Anbu. She slid the folder across the desk. Naruto made no move to take it. How long have you known? Suspected since I became Hokage, she replied evenly. Confirmed yesterday when I saw your altered seal. The pattern matched a drawing in this file. Naruto approached slowly, finally taking the folder. Inside lay yellowed documents, fragile with age. A faded photograph showed a striking woman with flame-red hair darker than Kushina's, unusual violet-blue eyes. And an intricate tattoo visible on her exposed shoulder, a dragon circling what appeared to be the same crest now embedded in Naruto's seal. Kaoru Uzumaki, Tsunade confirmed. She appeared in Konoha 17 years ago with an infant, Yu. She claimed to be a distant relative of Kushina's from a branch family thought extinct. Given her obvious Uzumaki traits and the chaos following the Nine Tails attack, few questions were asked. And then what? Naruto asked, unable to tear his gaze from the woman who was apparently his birth mother. She remained for 6 months. Formed a close relationship with Kushina, who was still recovering from the sealing in her near death. Then one night, Kaoru simply vanished. Left you in Kushina's care with a letter explaining. She had been called back to duties she couldn't ignore. What duties? Tsunade tapped the photo. The third believed she was some kind of guardian or priestess. That tattoo is an ancient symbol related to dimensional boundaries. Naruto's fingers unconsciously traced his altered seal through his shirt. She was a sage, the dragon sage. Tsunade's eyebrows rose. You've learned something. Wordlessly, Naruto removed the scroll tube from his back and extracted Sparda's message. He placed it on the desk between them but didn't open it. This appeared in my apartment last night. Delivered by someone. Something. Named Trish. She claimed to be a keeper of my father's legacy. Tsunade stiffened. Someone breached village security. Entered your home undetected. She's not human, Naruto said simply. Not entirely. Like Lady. Like me, apparently. He explained the scroll's contents while Tsunade listened without interruption, her expression growing increasingly troubled. A fragment of power, she repeated when he finished. Did you accept it? Not yet. I wanted. He hesitated, uncharacteristically vulnerable. I needed to understand first. About Kushina. About who I really am. Tsunade's amber eyes softened. Kushina loved you as her own, Naruto. Never doubt that. Whether or not she shared your blood, she gave her life to protect you. That makes her your mother in every way that matters. Naruto nodded, throat tight. And my father, Minato, knew the truth, I believe. The third's notes suggest Kushina explained your origins when she decided to formally adopt you. Minato accepted you without reservation. A weight lifted from Naruto's chest. He'd grown up hearing how he resembled the fourth Hokage, a fiction apparently crafted to protect him, but one that had given him a connection. An identity. So now what? He asked, gesturing to the scroll. Do I embrace this heritage? Become whatever a dragon sage devil is supposed to be? That's not a decision anyone can make for you, Tsunade said gently, but I would advise caution. Power freely offered often carries hidden costs. Naruto managed a wry smile. So Lady Tsunade recommends turning down power. That's new. I recommend understanding what you're accepting before you accept it, she corrected, returning his smile briefly before growing serious again. These incursions concern me, Naruto. If they're targeting you specifically, all the more reason I might need whatever advantages this offers, he finished. A knock interrupted them. Shizune entered without waiting, her expression urgent. Lady Tsunade, we've received reports of multiple attacks at the northwestern border. 3 scout teams engaged what they described as humanoid creatures with bladed arms and exposed ribcages. 2 teams have gone silent. Tsunade rose immediately. More of those hell prides. And something worse, came a new voice from the window. Lady perched on the sill, rain-damp hair framing her face. Her expression was grimmer than usual, her weapon's mud spattered. I thought we were meeting at the training ground, Naruto said. That was before 37 hell prides, 14 hell lusts, and at least 3 abyssals crossed over during the night, she replied tersely. The dimensional breach is widening. Casualties, Tsunade demanded. 6 confirmed dead, 4 missing. I eliminated 14 before falling back to report. Shizune gasped. You killed 14 of those creatures alone. Lady shrugged as if it were unremarkable. It's my job. Would have gotten more, but I ran low on ammunition. Her heterochromatic gaze shifted to Naruto. We need to move. These aren't random incursions anymore. They're searching for something, or someone, Naruto said quietly. Lady nodded. The breach is approximately 20 kilometers northwest, near the Valley of End. Appropriate, if dimensional walls are collapsing. Tsunade was already issuing orders. Shizune, activate Protocol 7. I want all available Jonin and Anbu mobilized. Naruto. She hesitated, glancing at the scroll still on her desk. I know, he said, retrieving it. Time to decide. Whatever you choose, she said carefully. Be certain it's for the right reasons. Naruto secured the scroll and turned to Lady. I need to make a stop first. My apartment. Then we go. She nodded curtly. 5 minutes. Not 1 second more. As they left, Tsunade called after them. Naruto. Whatever happens, remember who you are. The words followed him down the corridor, a reminder and a warning both. Naruto's apartment felt different in daylight. Smaller, more ordinary, despite the extraordinary decision awaiting him. Lady waited impatiently by the door while he retrieved the scroll and laid it open on the floor. The secondary seal pulsed with barely restrained power, more active than the previous night. Are you sure about this? Lady asked, her tone carefully neutral. No, Naruto admitted, but I'm sure about protecting Konoha. If this helps me do that. She nodded, understanding his unspoken reasoning. It will hurt, she warned. Integration of devil essence always does. Pain and I are old friends. Naruto knelt before the scroll, placed both palms on the secondary seal, and channeled chakra into it. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the seal liquefied beneath his fingers, transforming into molten silver that crawled up his arms like living mercury. Naruto gasped as it burned through cloth, sinking into his skin, tracing glowing patterns along his chakra pathways. The pain was exquisite, not localized but everywhere at once, cellular, fundamental. His very DNA felt like it was being unraveled and rewoven. The 9 tails roared in his mindscape, its chakra flaring protectively but unable to prevent the transformation. Naruto arched backward, a strangled cry escaping his lips. His vision fractured, splitting between the physical world and something else, a realm of swirling energies and impossible geometries. Through watering eyes, he saw Lady step back, weapons half raised as if uncertain whether to help or defend herself. The silver energy ray shed his altered seal and ignited it like gasoline thrown on embers. The draconic pattern blazed white-hot, expanding outward across his torso in spiraling scales and ancient runes. Simultaneously, nothing shattered in his mindscape, not the 9 tails seal, but a barrier he hadn't known existed, releasing memories that weren't his own. A towering figure in purple armor, wielding a sword that dwarfed ordinary men. A woman with flame-red hair standing atop a mountain, arms outstretched as dragon-shaped chakra coalesced around her. 2 white-haired youths sparring with inhuman speed while their father watched. pride evident even through his stoic demeanor. Asterisk. A cradle, a baby with whisker marks, a gentle hand stroking its cheek. Asterisk. He will be our legacy, beloved. The best of both our worlds. Asterisk. The visions faded as abruptly as they had appeared. The pain receded, leaving Naruto gasping on his apartment floor, drenched in sweat. His entire body hummed with new energy, P.O.R. simmering just beneath his skin like lightning-seeking ground. Naruto. Lady knelt beside him, concern temporarily overriding her professional detachment. Are you all right? He sat up slowly, marveling at how different his body felt. Lighter yet denser, as if his very molecules had been compressed and reinforced. He stopped, startled by his own voice, deeper, resonating with subtle harmonic undertones. I'm okay. Better than okay. He looked down at his arms. The silver energy had vanished, but his skin now bore faint, nearly invisible markings like scales that caught the light when he moved. His senses had sharpened dramatically. He could hear conversations 3 buildings away, smell individual components in the ink lady used to clean her weapons, see dust motes dancing in sunbeams with crystal clarity. Most significantly, he could feel power coursing through him, not chakra, though that remained, and not the Nine Tails energy, though it too pulsed as strongly as ever. This was something new yet ancient, primal yet refined, devil energy, recognized by his awakened blood. Can you stand? Lady asked. Naruto rose fluidly, noting with surprise that his movements felt more coordinated, more precise. How do I look? He asked, half joking. Lady studied him critically. Physically, not much different. Your eyes, though, she hesitated. They've changed. Naruto moved to the bathroom mirror. His reflection showed his familiar features, but his eyes, once purely blue, now held an inner ring of violet around the pupil, reminiscent of the woman in the photograph. More startling, when he channeled the new energy experimentally, faint luminescence flickered behind that violet ring, like banked embers awaiting breath. Definitely not fully human anymore, he murmured. Was that ever really in question? Lady responded, but without malice. Come on, we've wasted enough time. Those demons won't exterminate themselves. As they departed, Naruto cast one last glance at his apartment, at the life and identity he'd known. Whatever happened next, he wouldn't be returning as the same person who left. The northwestern forest burned. Plumes of black smoke stained the morning sky as Naruto and Lady raced through the canopy, joined now by Sakura, Sai, and Captain Yamato. They'd encountered the first demons 5 kilometers back, a pack of Hell Prides dispatched efficiently thanks to Lady's expertise and Naruto's newfound power. Remember, Lady called as they moved, Hell Lusts are faster than Prides. Don't let them flank you. Abyssals can teleport, short distances, keep your guard up even after they seem defeated. What about that? Sai asked, pointing ahead where a towering figure moved through the trees, easily 15 feet tall, carrying Chi appeared to be a massive stone coffin on its back. Hell Vanguard, Lady identified grimly. Higher order demon, extremely dangerous, can phase between dimensions momentarily, making it difficult to track. I've got this, Naruto said, accelerating ahead before anyone could object. The new power sang through his veins, demanding expression. He formed shadow clones without seals, the technique coming more naturally than ever, and surrounded the Hell Vanguard in a blur of motion. The massive demon paused, its faceless cowl turning slowly as it assessed the multiple targets. Now, Naruto commanded. His clones attacked simultaneously, each forming a Rasengan. But instead of pure chakra, these spheres contained swirling ribbons of silver-white energy intertwined with the familiar blue, devil power and chakra combined. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Where the enhanced Rasengan struck, the Hell Vanguard's supernatural flesh didn't merely tear but disintegrated, coming apart at a molecular level. The demon roared, a sound that existed partly in another dimension, causing nearby trees to warp and splinter. It swung its massive coffin in a horizontal arc, dispelling 3 clones instantly. Then it fixed its attention on the real Naruto, sensing the source of the hated power. SSSSSPPPAAARRRRDAAAA, it hissed, voice like grinding stone. Traitor's blood. It lunged with shocking speed for something so large. Naruto didn't dodge, Something instinctive, something in his newly awakened blood, told him not to show weakness. Instead, he channeled devil energy to his hand, visualizing the blade of light he'd manifested against the Hell Prides. Power answered instantly, coalescing into a katana-like blade of solid energy, not chakra-based like the sword of Kusanagi, but something more fundamental. The weapon felt like an extension of himself, responding to his will as naturally as breathing. The Hell Vanguard's charge met Naruto's upward slash. Devil steel cleaved through supernatural flesh and bone, parting the demon from shoulder to hip in a diagonal stroke that would have made master swordsmen envious. Black ichor sprayed in an arc that sizzled where it struck vegetation. The demon's momentum carried its separating halves past Naruto, crashing into the forest floor with earth-shaking impact. Unlike the lesser demons, it didn't immediately dissolve. Instead, it thrashed in its death throes, clawed hands scrabbling at dirt and roots. Son of the traitor, it gurgled, black fluid bubbling from its hidden mouth. The master comes for you. The dragon's egg hatches too late. Naruto approached cautiously, energy blades still manifested. What master? What do you know about the dragon sage? The Hell Vanguard's laughter was like stones grinding. Mordrath remembers. Remembers when your father sealed our realm. Remembers how the dragon witch helped him. Their spawn was hidden, but not forever. Never forever. Who is Mordrath? Naruto demanded. But the demon was already dissolving, its substance returning to whatever dimension it originated from. Within moments, only scorched earth remained where it had fallen. Impressive, Lady commented, joining him. Your awakening has progressed faster than I expected. Naruto let the energy blade dissipate, noticing how it didn't drain him as a similar chakra technique would have. It feels natural, like I've always known how to do this. Genetic memory, she explained. Your devil blood carries instinctive knowledge of certain abilities. The more you use them, the more will surface. The others caught up, Sakura immediately checking Naruto for injuries despite his protests that he was unharmed. What was that weapon? Yamato asked, eyeing the spot where the energy blade had been. Devil arm manifestation, Lady answered before Naruto could. The ability to create weapons from one's own demonic energy. It's a rare skill, even among devil bloods. Sakura finished her examination, looking troubled. Your chakra network is changing. The pathways are adapting to carry this new energy. Is that dangerous? Naruto asked. I don't know, she admitted. This is uncharted territory, but your vital signs are strong, and your healing factor seems enhanced. Sai, who had been scanning their surroundings, interrupted. More incoming. Many more. A chorus of inhuman shrieks rose from the forest ahead. Shadows moved between trees, dozens, perhaps hundreds of forms converging on their position. They're drawn to your awakened power, Lady explained grimly. Like sharks to blood. Naruto nodded, understanding. Then I'm the perfect bait. Captain Yamato, take the team southeast, circle around behind them. I'll draw them west toward the ravine, create a bottleneck. That's too dangerous, Sakura protested, even with your new abilities. I won't be alone, Naruto cut in, glancing at Lady. Right, she checked her weapons with practiced efficiency. Someone has to keep you from getting yourself killed. Yamato looked uncertain but nodded. 15 minutes to get into position. Don't engage the main force until we're ready. As the Konoha ninjas departed, Lady turned to Naruto. Bold strategy. Let's hope it works. It will, he replied with uncharacteristic certainty. I can feel them tracking me specifically. Like the devil energy as a beacon. It is, she confirmed. Especially newly awakened power that hasn't been properly controlled yet. You're broadcasting your presence across dimensions. They moved west, deliberately leaving an obvious trail. Naruto could sense the horde changing direction to follow, just as he'd predicted. You mentioned control, he said as they ran. How do I learn that? Normally, years of training under another devil blood. Lady's expression suggested that wasn't an option. In your case, improvise and don't die. Helpful, Naruto muttered. They reached the ravine, a narrow gorge with sheer rock walls rising 30 meters on either side. The bottom dotted with boulders and stunted trees. Perfect for their purposes. Naruto took position at the narrowest point while Lady climbed to an outcropping that offered superior firing angles. Remember, she called down, Hell Lusts will try to climb the walls to flank us. Abyssals teleport short range only, but can appear directly behind you. If you see anything larger than the vanguard, run. Don't try to be a hero. Isn't that literally your job description? Naruto shot back with a grin. Lady almost smiled. Almost. Just don't die. Paperwork for casualties is a nightmare. The forest at the ravine's entrance stirred. First came Hell Prides, shambling forward in groups of 3 and 4. Behind them, the more agile Hell Lusts moved in bounding leaps, their elongated limbs ending in wickedly curved blades. And behind those, Abyssals, Lady identified from her perch. And something else, something bigger. A shape moved in the forest shadows, massive. At least the size of the Hell Vanguard but broader, heavier. Naruto couldn't make out details, but the sheer malevolence radiating from it raised hackles on his neck. No time to worry about that now. The first wave of Hell Prides reached the ravine entrance, hesitating as their limited intelligence sensed the trap. But their prey stood before them, radiating the hated blood of Sparda, and instinct overrode caution. They charged. Ladies' guns barked from above, each shot finding an eye socket or vulnerable joint with unerring precision. Prides fell, dissolving into foul smoke. But more replaced them immediately. The bottleneck worked partially. They couldn't all attack at once, but their numbers seemed endless. Naruto manifested his energy blade again, finding it easier this time, more substantial. The weapon hummed with power as he met the demonic charge, moving with speed and precision that would have been impossible before his awakening. Each strike severed limbs or heads, each demon dissolving as his devil-charged weapon disrupted their supernatural cohesion. But for each one that fell, 2 more scrambled forward. The Hell Lusts proved more dangerous, their superior agility to leap between ravine walls, attempting to outflank him. Only Lady's covering fire kept them at bay, her bullets somehow charged with energy that affected the demons more severely than ordinary projectiles. There are too many, Naruto called up to her after dispatching a particularly persistent Hell Pride. We need to thin them out before the big one decides to join. Working on it, Lady shouted back, reloading with practiced efficiency. But I'm not seeing your backup. As if summoned by her complaint, the earth beneath several Hell Prides suddenly erupted into wooden spikes that impaled them from below. Captain Yamato stepped from behind a boulder, hands already forming new seals. From the opposite wall, a barrage of inked beasts descended as Sai joined the battle, his scroll unfurled. And behind Naruto, Sakura landed with earth-shattering force, her chakra-enhanced fist creating a crater that swallowed a cluster of advancing demons. Sorry we're late, she called. Dodging a Hell Lust's blade. Ran into complications. Define complications, Lady demanded, picking off a demon that was flanking Sakura. Another group coming from the northeast, Yamato explained between jutsu. We had to split up. Kakashi's leading the second defense team. A new roar echoed from the forest entrance, deeper, more guttural than the hell creatures. The massive shape emerged at last, towering above even the abyssals. It resembled a minotaur crossed with an insect, its bull-like head sporting mandibles and compound eyes. 4 heavily muscled arms ended in massive stone axes. And its lower body was supported by 6 double-jointed legs. Talos Crusher, Lady identified grimly. High-order battle demon. This just got complicated. The Talos Crusher survey the battlefield with disturbing intelligence in its compound eyes. It fixed on Naruto immediately, mandibles clicking as it apparently communicated to the lesser demons. Instantly, their attack pattern changed, becoming coordinated. Strategic. It's controlling them, Naruto realized. Cut off the head, and you get crushed by 4 stone axes, Lady finished. That thing is beyond your current abilities, Sparda blood or not. The Talos Crusher raised 1 axe, pointing directly at Naruto. Its mandibles parted, and it spoke, not in hisses or roars, but in perfectly understandable language. Albeit with an unsettling reverberation. Spawn of Sparda and the Dragon Witch, it intoned, voice like distant thunder. My master Mordrath sends greetings. He would have you alive, but will accept your corpse if necessary. Who is Mordrath? Naruto demanded, using the dialogue to signal Yamato to prepare his strongest wood-style containment. Why is he after me? The Talos Crusher's compound eyes gleamed with malicious amusement. The blood of Sparda and the Dragon Sage in one vessel, such power should not exist. My master will harvest it to open the way permanently. Open what way? Lady called, having repositioned to a better vantage point. All ways. The demon's mandibles formed what might have been a smile. All barriers fall. All worlds become one. The great convergence approaches. It raised all four axes simultaneously. Surrender the hybrid, and your deaths will be swift. Counter offer. Came a new voice, feminine yet charged with supernatural resonance. Leave now, and I might not turn you to ash where you stand. Trish stepped from behind a boulder, electricity crackling between her fingers. Her leather outfit seemed impractical for battle, yet she moved with predatory grace that made clear she was far more dangerous than she appeared. The Talos Crusher actually hesitated, compound eyes flicking between her and Naruto. The mockery, it hissed, recognizing her. My master warned of you. Did he mention this? Trish smiled coldly, then thrust both hands forward. Lightning erupted from her palms, not chakra-based lightning like Kakashi's Chidori, but raw electrical energy that split into multiple arcs, seeking out every demon within 30 meters. Lesser demons combusted instantly, while the Talos Crusher staggered backward, its exoskeleton smoking from multiple impact points. Taking advantage of the opening, Yamato completed his jutsu. Massive wooden pillars erupted around the Talos Crusher, encircling it in a cage of interlocking timbers infused with suppression seals. That won't hold it long, he warned, visibly straining to maintain the technique against the demon's supernatural strength. It doesn't need to, Naruto replied, hands already forming seals. His chakra mixed with devil energy, creating a visible aura around him, blue intertwined with silver-white. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 20 clones appeared, each already channeling the combined energy into their palms. What formed wasn't the standard Rasengan, but something new, a sphere where razor-sharp wind chakra formed the core, surrounded by rotating rings of devil energy like Saturn's bands. What is that? Sakura gasped, recognizing elements of Naruto's Rasenshuriken but seeing it had evolved into something far more volatile. Improvising, Naruto replied with a grim smile. His clones attacked from all angles as Yamato's wooden cage began to splinter under the Talos Crusher's assault. The demon broke one arm free, swinging an axe that dispelled 3 clones instantly, but the remaining 17 connected with their targets. The enhanced Rasengans detonated simultaneously against the creature's exoskeleton. The resulting explosion sent everyone diving for cover. A column of silver-blue energy erupted skyward, momentarily turning day to night as it blocked the sun. When vision cleared, the Talos Crusher stood immobilized, its exoskeleton cracked open in multiple places, revealing writhing darkness beneath instead of flesh and bone. It staggered, 4 arms flailing ineffectually. This changes nothing, it gurgled, black ichor flowing from its mandibles. The master comes. The convergence cannot be stopped. Maybe not, Naruto replied, forming one final Rasengan directly in front of the demon's face. But you won't see it. The spinning orb connected, and the Talos Crusher's head simply ceased to exist, vaporized into particles too fine to see. Its massive body collapsed, already beginning to dissolve. Silence fell across the ravine. The remaining lesser demons, bereft of their commander, milled about in confusion. Lady and the Konoha ninjas made short work of them, while Naruto turned to face Trish. Convenient timing, he said. Neither accusatory nor grateful. Were you watching the whole time? Trish smiled enigmatically. I was, nearby, observing your progress. Her gaze flickered to his abdomen where the altered seal lay hidden beneath his shirt. I see you accepted the gift. I did what was necessary, Naruto replied cautiously. But that doesn't mean I trust you or your intentions. Wise, she acknowledged without offense. Trust should be earned, not given. She glanced at the dissolving demons. But perhaps my actions today earned a measure of consideration. Before Naruto could respond, Lady approached, weapon still at ready. Trish, she said flatly, clearly recognizing the other woman. Didn't expect to find you here. Lady, Trish's smile turned knowing. Still hunting with those primitive weapons, I see. They get the job done. Lady's heterochromatic eyes narrowed. Why are you really here? You've never been the altruistic type. People change, Trish replied smoothly. And dimensions are collapsing. That concerns everyone, even me. She turned to Naruto. The scroll I delivered, It contained more than just power, yes. Memories, perhaps. Insights. Naruto nodded reluctantly. Fragments. Nothing coherent yet. They'll become clearer as your devil blood fully integrates with your unique physiology. Her gaze flicked to his abdomen again, clearly sensing the 9 tails sealed within. Fascinating combination. No wonder Mordrath wants you. You know this Mordrath? Yamato asked, joining them while maintaining a cautious distance from Trish. By reputation, she confirmed. Ancient Devil Lord, once challenged Sparda for control of the demon hierarchy, long before Sparda's rebellion. Has nursed that grudge for millennia. And now he's found a way to breach dimensional barriers. Lady added grimly, using these incursions to search for Naruto. Not just search, Trish corrected. Test. Each wave assesses his abilities, his responses. Mordrath is methodical. He studies his prey before striking personally. Sakura frowned. So these attacks will continue. Escalate. Undoubtedly, Trish confirmed. And not just here. The dimensional breaches are spreading. I've tracked incursions at 7 distinct locations across your elemental nations, did you call them? Yamato and Sakura exchanged alarmed glances. We need to report this to Lady Tsunade immediately, Yamato decided. If multiple villages are under attack, go, Naruto told them. I'll stay here with Lady and Trish. Secure this breach point. Yamato looked uncertain. Are you sure that's wise? I'm the one they're after, Naruto pointed out. Better to keep their focus here than let them scatter across the continent hunting me. After a moment's consideration, Yamato nodded. We'll send reinforcements once we've briefed the Hokage. Be careful, Naruto. As Yamato, Sakura, and Sai departed, Naruto turned to face the 2 devil women. Now, he said quietly, I think it's time for the full truth. Both of you. Lady and Trish exchanged glances, some unspoken communication passing between them despite their apparent rivalry. What do you want to know? Trish finally asked. Everything. Naruto replied simply, starting with who you really are, why you're here, and what connection you had to Sparda. Trish's perfect lips curved in a smile that held equal parts amusement and respect. You certainly inherited his directness. She gestured to a relatively intact section of the ravine floor. This might take some time. Shall we sit? Afternoon sun slanted across the ravine as Trish concluded her explanation. Naruto sat cross-legged on a boulder, absorbing the incredible story she'd shared about Sparda's rebellion against demonkind, his centuries protecting humanity, his human wife Eva, and his twin sons Dante and Virgil. About Trish's own origins as a demon created in Eva's image, initially sent to manipulate Dante but eventually finding her own path. About the complex politics of the demon realm and its interactions with the human world. So I have brothers, Naruto said quietly. Half-brothers. Yes, Trish confirmed, though neither knows about you yet. Dante remains active as a devil hunter. Virgil's status is complicated. Lady, who had remained largely silent during Trish's narrative, finally spoke. What she's conveniently not explaining is why Sparda would have had a child with this dragon sage when he was supposedly devoted to his human wife. Trish's expression tightened momentarily. Timing matters. Eva was killed when the twins were 8 years old. Sparda disappeared shortly after, searching for those responsible, we believe. During his quest, he discovered passages to other dimensions, including this one. And met my mother, Naruto finished. Kaoru Uzumaki. Yes, from what I understand, theirs wasn't a casual relationship. They recognized in each other kindred guardians of their respective realms. When dimensional instabilities began appearing 20 years ago, they worked together to reinforce the barriers. And conceived me in the process, Naruto added, trying to keep bitterness from his voice. Trish's expression softened unexpectedly. Don't misunderstand. Sparda wasn't one for casual entanglements. If he fathered a child with the dragon sage, it was with purpose and, I believe, with genuine feeling. She hesitated. The memories contained in his power fragment should eventually confirm this. If that's true, why was I left in Konoha? Why didn't he acknowledge me? Lady answered this time. Because having Sparda's blood makes you a target, as today's events clearly demonstrated. His elder sons were attacked repeatedly throughout their childhoods. Hiding you in another dimension, with your identity concealed, was probably meant as protection. The explanation made logical sense, but did little to soothe the ache of abandonment Naruto had carried his entire life. Learning about his connection to the fourth Hokage hadn't fully healed that wound, and now he discovered that relationship had been another layer of misdirection. The Talos Crusher mentioned a convergence, he said, changing the subject. What did it mean? Trish and Lady exchanged concerned glances. There's an ancient demonic prophecy, Trish explained reluctantly. About worlds colliding, barriers dissolving. The convergence of all realms into one chaotic whole, a return to the primordial state before dimensions separated. Mordrath apparently believes this convergence can be triggered artificially, Lady added. And that your unique nature, part devil, part sage, part Jinchuriki, is somehow key to the process. Naruto absorbed this, connecting it to fragments he'd glimpsed in the transferred memories. The dragon sage, my mother, she was some kind of guardian of dimensional boundaries. The last of an ancient order, from what Sparda recorded, Trish confirmed. Her chakra, especially when combined with certain sage techniques, could repair weaknesses in the dimensional fabric. And combined with Sparda's blood, created you, Trish finished. A being theoretical, why capable of traveling between dimensions at will, once fully awakened. The perfect guardian against convergence. Or the perfect key to trigger it, Lady pointed out darkly. Depending on who controls that power. Before Naruto could respond, a new presence made itself known, a ripple in the air at the ravine entrance, like heat haze but more substantial. The distortion expanded, forming a shimmering vertical oval approximately 2 meters high. Lady and Trish were on their feet instantly, weapons ready. Naruto manifested his energy blade without conscious thought, the technique already becoming instinctive. Portal, Trish identified tersely. Something's coming through. The oval rippled like disturbed water, then parted as a figure stepped through, humanoid but clearly not human. Tall and regal, it wore ornate armor of midnight blue adorned with silver runes that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. Its face remained hidden behind an elaborate helmet crowned with backward curving horns. But eyes glowed crimson within the visor slit. It carried no visible weapons, yet radiated power that made the air around it distort subtly, as if reality itself objected to its presence. Demon aristocrat, Lady murmured, raising her guns. High order, not just any aristocrat, Trish corrected, electricity crackling between her fingers. That's Visago, one of Mordrath's lieutenants. A devil prince. The armored figure surveyed them with those burning eyes, then spoke, its voice cultured, almost pleasant, yet carrying otherworldly harmonics that made Naruto's teeth ache. The dragon sage devil awakens at last, he observed. How disappointing to find you in such limited company. The helmet inclined toward Trish and Lady dismissively. State your business and leave, Visago, Trish demanded. Electricity intensifying around her hands. You're not welcome in this realm. A sound emerged from the helmet, possibly laughter, though it resembled breaking glass. Bold words from an artificial construct. Does the dragon's spawn know what you truly are, I wonder? The circumstances of your creation. I know enough, Naruto interrupted, stepping forward. His devil blood resonated with the newcomer's power, recognizing a being of similar origin yet fundamentally opposed nature. What does Mordrath want with me? Visago's burning gaze fixed on him. Want? Such a limited concept. My master doesn't merely want you, young hybrid. He requires you. You are the final component in a grand design millennia in the making. The convergence, Naruto stated. You've heard whispers already. Good. Visago stepped forward, armored boots making no sound on the rocky ground. Yes, the great convergence approaches, the reunification of realms sundered eons ago by short-sighted guardians who feared the natural order. Natural order, Lady scoffed. Demons overwhelming all other realms is hardly natural. Perspective, little hunter, Visago replied indulgently. From the insect's view, the boot is apocalypse. From above, merely a step forward. He returned his attention to Naruto. You stand at a crossroads, son of Sparda. Your awakening is incomplete, your potential barely tapped. My master offers guidance, understanding, mastery of the power stirring within your blood. In exchange for helping him destroy multiple worlds, Naruto countered flatly. Transform, Visago corrected. Nothing truly destroys. Energy changes form, worlds evolve, boundaries blur then re-establish at higher orders. This has happened before, will happen again. Despite himself, Naruto felt a flicker of curiosity. What do you mean, happened before? Trish stepped forward. Don't engage with him, Naruto. Demon princes are master manipulators. Visago ignored her. Your father never told you the true history. How convenient for his legend. The helmet tilted slightly. The realms were once unified. The separation, artificial, enforced by beings who appointed themselves cosmic arbiters. Your father among them, though he later reconsidered his position. You're lying, Naruto stated, but doubt crept into his voice. Am I? Ask your blood. The memories it carries. Visago spread his armored hands. Better yet, ask your companion. He nodded toward Trish. She knows what Sparda truly sought in his final years. Why he vanished. What he discovered about the nature of dimensional barriers. Naruto glanced at Trish, who had gone very still, her expression unreadable. Enough talk, lady declared, raising her guns. Leave now, or I send you back to your master in pieces. Visago's burning gaze slid to her dismissively. The anthill threatens the boot. He returned his attention to Naruto. I came not to fight, but to deliver an invitation. My master would meet with you, neutral ground, safe passage guaranteed. He would show you truths hidden by those who claim to protect you. Why would I trust anything your master offers? Naruto demanded. Because unlike your father's supporters, Visago replied smoothly, Mordrath has never lied to you. Never hidden your heritage, never used you as a weapon while denying you knowledge of your true nature. The words struck uncomfortably close to Naruto's experiences with Konoha's leadership. How many secrets had been kept from him over the years? How many half-truths fed to him in the name of protection? Sensing his uncertainty, Visago pressed his advantage. 3 days hence, when the moons align, the ancient temple at the continent's center, what you call the Land of Iron. Come alone. Hear my master's words. Then decide your path with full knowledge, not carefully curated fragments. He's not going anywhere near Mordrath, Trish stated flatly, electricity arcing between her fingers. This conversation is over. Visago's helmet turned toward her. The puppet believes she has free will. How charming. He stepped backward toward the portal, which had remained open during their exchange. 3 days. Dragons spawn. An opportunity that will not come again. Before anyone could respond, he stepped through the rippling oval, which sealed itself with a sound like sighing wind. The ravine fell silent save for the distant calls of birds gradually returning after the demonic presence departed. Well, lady said after a moment, holstering her guns, that was unexpected. Visago never leaves Mordrath's inner circle, Trish agreed, her electricity fading. For him to deliver an invitation personally. You think it's a trap, Naruto stated. Obviously, lady snorted. No, Trish contradicted, surprising them both. Demon princes operate by strict codes. If Visago offered safe passage in Mordrath's name, it would be honored, technically if not in spirit. Meaning, you wouldn't be harmed during the meeting itself. But getting to and from the location, or anything that happens after the formal audience concludes. She shrugged expressively. Naruto turned to face her directly. He said you know what Sparda was really doing when he disappeared. What he discovered about dimensional barriers. Was that true? Trish hesitated, something conflicted crossing her perfect features. Partially, she admitted finally. Sparda entrusted certain knowledge to me before he vanished. Insurance, he called it. What knowledge? Not here, she said, glancing around. Not now. We should return to your village, report what happened. You're avoiding the question, Naruto pressed. I'm prioritizing, Trish corrected. Visago's appearance changes things. If Mordrath is making direct overtures to you, we need to accelerate your training, prepare defenses. She's right, lady interjected reluctantly. Much as I hate agreeing with her. This goes beyond just you now, Naruto. If Mordrath gains control of your abilities, multiple worlds are at risk. Naruto studied them both, sensing they were still withholding information but recognizing the logic in their argument. Fine, we return to Konoha, but this conversation isn't over. As they prepared to depart, Naruto cast one last glance at the spot where the portal had appeared. 3 days until the moons aligned. 3 days to decide whether to accept Mordrath's invitation, to potentially hear truths those around him seemed reluctant to share. His newly awakened blood stirred with anticipation, as if recognizing an approaching crossroads more significant than any he had faced before. The Hokage's war room buzzed with tense activity as reports flowed in from across the elemental nations. Maps spread across the central table showed multiple sites of demonic incursion, each marked with different colored pins indicating severity and type. Tsunade stood at the head of the table, directing operations with the efficiency of a veteran commander. Around her gathered the available Jonin commanders, Anbu captains, and allied representatives, including Gaara of the Sand, who had arrived via emergency teleportation jutsu after his village reported dimensional disturbances. Naruto entered alongside Lady and Trish, immediately drawing all eyes. His appearance had subtle, why changed again? The violet ring around his pupils more pronounced, his movements carrying a fluid grace that seemed almost predatory. Power radiated from him in barely perceptible waves, causing the or sensitive chakra sensors in the room to shift uncomfortably. Naruto, Tsunade acknowledged, then frowned at Trish. Who is this? Trish, Lady answered before either could speak. Another devil hunter, and possibly our best source of information on what we're facing. Gaara studied Naruto with his usual intense gaze. Something has changed in you, he observed quietly. Your energy signature is altered. It's a long story, Naruto replied with a weary smile. Involving dimensional demons, ancient bloodlines, and apparently a prophecy about the end of all worlds. You know, Tuesday in Konoha. A few nervous chuckles broke the tension momentarily. Tsunade gestured them toward the table. We've confirmed demonic incursions in 17 locations across 5 nations, she reported grimly. Most are minor, what Lady identified as lesser demons, coming through in small numbers. But 3 major breaches have been identified. She pointed to markers on the map. Here in Fire Country, another near the village hidden in the clouds, and a third in the Land of Iron. The Land of Iron, Naruto repeated, recalling Visago's invitation. That's not a coincidence. Quickly, he recounted their encounter with the Demon Prince and his invitation to meet Mordrath at the ancient temple. Absolutely not, Tsunade declared when he finished. It's clearly a trap. Maybe, Naruto acknowledged, but it's also an opportunity to learn more about what we're facing. About Mordrath's true intentions. His intentions seem quite clear, Kakashi observed from where he leaned against the wall. He wants to use you to trigger this convergence, whatever that actually means in practice. Which is why Naruto should avoid him at all costs, Sakura added emphatically. Trish, who had remained silent until now, stepped forward. There's another perspective to consider, she said, drawing all eyes. If Mordrath wants a meeting badly enough to send Visago personally, it suggests uncertainty. He may not be as confident in his plans as he appears. Meaning, Tsunade prompted. Meaning he may need Naruto's cooperation, not just his power. That gives us leverage, or he simply wants to eliminate a potential threat before proceeding with his plans, Gaara countered logically. If Naruto truly is meant to be some kind of dimensional guardian, removing him would clear Mordrath's path. But why invite him to a meeting first? Trish pressed. Why not simply launch an all-out attack to capture or kill him? Lady narrowed her eyes at Trish. You sound like you're advocating he accept the invitation. I'm advocating we consider all options, Trish replied smoothly, including using this opportunity to gather intelligence on an enemy we know very little about. Shikamaru, who had been silently analyzing the map, finally spoke. What if we treated it as an intelligence operation? Naruto appears to accept the invitation, but with substantial backup hidden nearby. Mordrath would sense conventional forces, Lady cautioned. Devil Lords have perception far beyond normal range. Then we don't use conventional forces, Shikamaru countered. We use specialized AMs with specific capabilities for concealment. The discussion continued, strategies proposed and discarded, risks weighed against potential benefits. Through it all, Naruto remained unusually quiet, processing everything he'd learned over the past 48 hours. His entire understanding of himself, his origins, his purpose had been upended. Yet amid the disorientation, something felt strange. Right. as if puzzle pieces long misaligned were finally finding their proper configuration. A commotion at the door interrupted the planning session. A Jonin messenger burst in, face pale beneath his mask. "Lady Hokage, emergency from the main gate. We have visitors." "More demons," Tsunade demanded, already reaching for her ceremonial robe. "No, my lady, it's..." The messenger hesitated, seemingly at a loss for words. "It would be easier if you saw for yourself." Curious and concerned, the entire group followed Tsunade through the tower and out to the village gates. A small crowd had gathered, keeping a respectful distance from two figures standing calmly at the checkpoint. One was a man in his 30s with striking white hair, wearing a long red leather coat over black attire. Multiple weapons adorned his person, most prominently an enormous sword strapped to his back. His handsome face wore an expression of casual amusement, as if arriving at a hidden ninja village was a perfectly normal occurrence. Beside him stood a woman who could have been Trish's twin, identical in facial features but dressed entirely differently in a business-like outfit of tailored pants and blazer. Her blonde hair was styled more conservatively, and her bearing suggested military precision rather than Trish's predatory grace. "No way," Lady breathed, genuine shock in her voice. "Dante." The white-haired man grinned, spotting her in the approaching group. Well, if it isn't Lady. Long time no see, demon girl." His gaze shifted to Trish, one eyebrow rising. "And Trish. Guess the party's already started without me." "Dante," Trish acknowledged, her usual composure slightly shaken. "This is unexpected." "Tell me about it," he replied cheerfully. "One minute I'm enjoying a perfectly good pizza. The next Gloria here," he nodded to the Trish look-alike, "is telling me dimensional barriers are collapsing and oh, by the way, my dad apparently had another kid nobody both read to mention for the past 17 years. His ice blue eyes scanned the group, finally landing on Naruto. "And I'm guessing you're the surprise little brother." The casual revelation stunned the assembled Konoha ninjas into silence. Naruto found himself speechless, staring at the man who, if everyone was to be believed, was his half-brother. "Dante Sparda," Tsunade said carefully, recovering first. "I am Tsunade, 5th Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. May I ask the purpose of your visit?" Dante grinned wider, resting one hand on the hilt of his massive sword. "Nothing complicated. Just thought I'd check out this other dimension, meet my alleged baby brother, and maybe prevent the apocalyptic merger of all reality into one demon-infested hellscape." He shrugged casually. "You know, family business." Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, The Dragon Rises. "So you're telling me," Dante said, boots propped irreverently on the Hokage's conference table, "that my father, who I thought was just your garden-variety legendary demon knight with a human wife and twin sons, actually had a whole second life in another dimension with a woman called the Dragon Sage, resulting in you." He pointed a leather-gloved finger at Naruto, blue eyes gleaming with amusement. "And nobody thought to mention this minor detail for, 17 years?" The conference room felt impossibly small with Auntie's larger-than-life presence filling it. He radiated confidence bordering on arrogance, yet there was something undeniably magnetic about him, the same charisma Naruto himself possessed, but refined. Through years of experience and absolute certainty in his own abilities. "That's the simplified version," Naruto confirmed, still studying the man who was apparently his half-brother. The family resemblance wasn't obvious at first glance. Dante's white hair and pale complexion contrasted sharply with Naruto's blonde hair and tanned skin. But there were subtler similarities: the shape of their jaws, something about the set of their shoulders, and most strikingly, the way both naturally commanded attention without trying. "Simplified is good," Dante replied, grinning. "I tend to zone out during the complicated parts." Despite his flippant tone, his eyes missed nothing, constantly assessing everyone in the room with the instinctive awareness of a seasoned warrior. Lady rolled her eyes. "Don't let the act fool you," she told Naruto. "He absorbs everything. The nonchalance is just his default setting." "Ah, you do know me," Dante placed a hand over his heart in mock emotion. Gloria, Trish look-alike who had accompanied Dante, stood near the wall with perfect military posture. "Perhaps we could focus on the critical situation at hand." Her voice resembled Trish's but lacked the playful undertones. carrying instead a crisp efficiency that matched her businesslike appearance. Tsunade, who had been watching the exchange with carefully controlled patience, nodded agreement. Your associate is right. While this family reunion is, she searched for an appropriate word, interesting, we have demon incursions occurring across 5 nations. About that, Dante swung his boots off the table and leaned forward. Suddenly serious. Gloria's been tracking dimensional disturbances for months. They started as minor tremors, barely noticeable unless you knew what to look for. Then 3 days ago, everything spiked. Multiple breaches opening simultaneously across dimensions. Coinciding with Naruto's blood awakening, Trish observed. Not a coincidence, Gloria stated. The events are causally linked, though the directionality remains uncertain. Meaning, Sakura prompted. Meaning we don't know if Naruto's awakening triggered the breaches, or if the breaches triggered his awakening, Gloria clarified. Both scenarios have concerning implications. Naruto frowned. If my awakening somehow caused this, then Mordrath has been manipulating events from the beginning, Lady finished grimly. Setting conditions to force your devil blood to activate. Dante studied Naruto with sudden intensity. Show me the seal. Naruto hesitated, then lifted his shirt, revealing the complex pattern where the original 8 trigrams seal now intertwined with draconic scales and ancient runes. Dante whistled, genuinely impressed. Now that's craftsmanship. He rose and approached, examining the markings with unexpected knowledge. Definitely Dad's work, but these outer patterns. His finger traced the air above the draconic scales. Never seen anything like this. Demonic script hybridized with something else entirely. Sage script, Gloria supplied. Ancient form used by dimensional guardians. The Dragon Covenant specialized in boundary maintenance between realms. Naruto lowered his shirt, uncomfortable with the scrutiny. The Dragon Covenant, my mother's order. Indeed, Gloria confirmed. Practitioners who could manipulate natural energy across dimensional boundaries. Extremely rare ability, even at their height. According to our records, the Covenant was nearly extinct by the time Sparda encountered your mother. Records. Tsunade's eyes narrowed. Just who or what are you? Exactly. Gloria and Trish exchanged glances. It was Trish who answered. Gloria is, let's say, a specialized variant of my own nature. Created for different purposes. Created. Sakura echoed, clearly unsettled. I serve the Order of the Sword, Gloria stated matter-of-factly. An organization dedicated to studying demonic phenomena and protecting dimensional integrity. My specialty is intelligence analysis and interdimensional tracking. Dante chuckled. Translation. She's a supernatural spy with a photographic memory and access to records older than most civilizations. Comes in handy. Quote, and you trust her? Tsunade directed this question to Dante. About 60% of the time, he replied cheerfully. Which, for someone created by a quasi-religious order with questionable methods, is pretty good. Gloria didn't appear offended by this assessment. My loyalty is to dimensional stability above any organization. The current crisis threatens all realms. Naruto, who had been processing these revelations silently, finally spoke. What I don't understand is why now? If I've had this heritage since birth, why is it only awakening after 17 years? That, Dante said, suddenly serious, is the million-dollar question. He turned to Trish. You delivered Dad's power fragment, right? What else was in that package? Trish hesitated fractionally. Instructions, memories, enough to guide Naruto toward his inheritance without overwhelming him. But not the whole story, Dante pressed, surprising everyone with his insight. Dad was always big on need-to-know basis. Question is, what didn't he want his third son to know right away? An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Naruto felt a chill run down his spine, recognizing that even these supposed allies might be withholding crucial information about his own nature and purpose. The 9 tails stirred within its seal. They fear what you might become if you knew everything at once. It commented silently, as they should. Before Naruto could respond to that unsettling thought, Tsunade took control of the meeting again. Theories and family history aside, we need concrete plans. The demon incursions are escalating, and according to Lady, higher-order demons will follow these initial waves. Already happening, Kakashi interjected from the doorway, having just arrived. Reports from the Land of Waves describe a creature matching Lady's description of a frost general, controlling ice, creating demonic foot soldiers from frozen corpses. Charming, Dante muttered. Good times ahead. Tsunade made a swift decision. We'll establish a specialized response unit. Naruto, Dante, Lady, and Trish as the core team for direct engagement with demonic entities. Supporting teams from our forces for perimeter control and civilian evacuation. She looked at Gloria. Your intelligence would be valuable as well. I'll assist, Gloria agreed. Though my combat capabilities are more limited than Trish's. What about Mordrath's invitation? Naruto asked. The meeting at the Land of Iron in 3 days. Dante raised an eyebrow. Mordrath, as an ancient demon lord with a centuries-old grudge against Dad. That Mordrath. The same, Lady confirmed. He sent a prince as personal emissary. Well. Dante's expression mingled surprise with intrigue. Little brother's popular with the upper echelons already. We're still discussing how to approach that situation, Tsunade informed him. Obviously, we can't allow Naruto to walk into a potential trap unprotected. Obviously, Dante agreed, then grinned at Naruto. Though if you're anything like the rest of the family, walking into traps and coming out swinging is practically genetic. Despite himself, Naruto felt a smile tugging at his lips. There was something refreshingly straightforward about Dante, a man who faced ancient evils with a smirk and a quip. Ho seemed to accept Naruto as family without question or reservation. For now, Tsunade continued, I want Naruto to focus on developing control over these new abilities. Lady, Trish, you mentioned training. Already started, Lady confirmed. Though with Dante here, he might be a more appropriate instructor for certain techniques. Dante spread his hands, happy to show baby bro the ropes. Vil Trigger can be a bitch to master without guidance. Devil Trigger, Naruto repeated. The transformed state, Trish explained. When your devil nature manifests physically, it's the purest expression of your demonic power. And extremely dangerous if it activates uncontrolled, Lady added pointedly. Tsunade nodded. Then that's your priority for now. Training Grounds 11 has been read and warded for your use, isolated enough for privacy, close enough for rapid response if needed. As the meeting adjourned, people began filtering out with assigned tasks. Naruto found himself walking alongside Dante, still trying to process the reality of having a half-brother who treated the apocalyptic situation with such casual confidence. So, Dante said as they headed toward the training grounds. Gotta ask, what's with the whiskers? Distinctive fashion choice or devil feature I somehow missed out on. Naruto touched the marks on his cheeks self-consciously. Side effect of being a Jinchuriki, having the 9-tailed fox sealed inside me at birth. Dante absorbed this without missing a beat. A demon fox, huh? This dimension doesn't do anything by halves, does it? So you've got Dad's blood, sage heritage from Mom, and a fox demon tenant. He chuckled. And I thought my family's situation was complicated. It's been an adjustment, Naruto admitted. Finding out everything I thought I knew about myself might be wrong. Dante's expression softened, showing unexpected empathy. Listen, kid, speaking as someone who spent years figuring out what it means to be Sparda's son. I'll tell you this, biology isn't destiny. Whatever powers you've inherited, whatever purpose the old man might have had in mind, ultimately, you decide what to do with it all. The simple wisdom in those words struck Naruto deeply. All his life, paths had been laid out for him by others, Jinchuriki, ninja, potential Hokage. Now, new roles awaited. Son of Sparda, Dragon Sage Devil, Dimensional Guardian. But Dante was right, the choice of which path to walk remained his alone. Thanks, Naruto said quietly. That actually helps. Dante clapped him on the shoulder, strength in the casual gesture. That's what big brothers are for. That, and teaching you how to use absurdly powerful demon weapons without accidentally leveling your hometown. He grinned mischievously. Should be fun. Training Ground 11 had been transformed overnight. Complex ceiling arrays created a perimeter that would contain energy discharges and prevent civilian observation. Within this boundary, an tenement of training equipment had been arranged, from conventional targets to bizarre contraptions Naruto didn't recognize, presumably designed for devil-specific abilities. Trish, Lady, and Gloria awaited them. Having arrived ahead to prepare, a small group of observers stood at a safe distance: Tsunade, Kakashi, and Hinata, whose presence surprised Naruto. Her Byakugan would be useful for monitoring his chakra network during training. But something in her expression suggested she had another purpose for being there. "All right, little brother," Dante said, removing his red coat and drawing the massive sword from his back. "Let's see what you've got so far. No holding back. Not that you could hurt me anyway." The casual confidence might have seemed arrogant from anyone else, but Naruto sensed the statement was simple fact. Dante's power, even at rest, eclipsed anything he'd encountered outside the 10 Tails. "Don't worry about property damage," Trish called from the sidelines. "These CLS can contain a small nuclear explosion." "Comforting," Naruto muttered, then focused inward, drawing on the devil energy that now flowed alongside his chakra. He'd discovered that manifesting his energy blade came almost instinctively now, the weapon materializing in his hand with a thought, glowing with silver-white light tinged with azure at its edges. The blade had evolved since his first unconscious creation of it, becoming more substantial, more defined, with intricate patterns etched along its length that resembled both demonic script and sage runes. Dante examined it with professional interest. Not bad for a beginner. Devil arm manifestation usually takes years to master. Must be the sage blood giving you a shortcut. Without warning, he attacked, a lightning-fast strike that would have decapitated a normal opponent. Naruto blocked on pure instinct, his blade meeting Dante's enormous sword with a sound like thunder. The impact sent him skidding backward several meters, but his weapon held intact against the superior force. Good reflexes, Dante approved, not even breathing hard. "Let's see your offense." What followed was the most intense training session of Naruto's life. Dante moved with impossible speed and precision, his sword seeming to be everywhere at once. Yet he was clearly holding back, teaching rather than overwhelming. Each exchange lasted seconds but contained dozens of strikes and counters, Dante calling out adjustments and suggestions throughout. "Channel more devil energy through your forearms when blocking heavy strikes. Don't just see my movements. Feel the displacement of air. Sense my intent. Your stance is too rigid. Devil combat requires fluidity, adaptation." After 20 minutes, Naruto was drenched in sweat, his muscles burning with exertion. While Dante hadn't even removed his second layer of clothing. But the training was working. With each exchange, Naruto integrated new knowledge, his devil blood responding to the challenge by awakening dormant instincts. "Not bad," Dante said finally, stepping back. "Basic swordsmanship needs work, but your instincts are solid. Let's try something different." He sheathed his sword. "Manifest 2 smaller blades instead of 1 large one." Naruto frowned. "I haven't tried that before." "It's all intent and visualization," Dante explained. "Your devil energy responds to your will. 2 blades requires splitting focus, but gives you more versatility." Naruto concentrated, dissolving his single blade and attempting to form 2 smaller ones simultaneously. The energy responded sluggishly, resisting the division. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he forced his will upon the power, demanding it conform to his vision. Slowly, painfully, the energy separated into 2 streams, coalescing into twin short swords glowing with the same silver azure light. Maintaining them required significantly more concentration than the single blade had. "Good," Dante approved. "Now attack me with both simultaneously." What followed was a humbling lesson in the difference between having weapons and knowing how to use them effectively. Dante evaded every strike with contemptuous ease, occasionally tapping Naruto with the flat of his own blade to indicate successful hits against him. "Dual wielding isn't just about having 2 weapons," he lectured as they sparred. "It's about creating unpredictable attack patterns, using one blade to set up openings for the other." Gradually, Naruto began integrating the instruction, his movements becoming more coordinated, more purposeful. The devil energy responded to his growing skill, the twin blades stabilizing, requiring less conscious maintenance. After another 20 minutes, Dante called a halt. "Enough bladed weapons for now. Let's see what else you can do." Lady approached, having observed the session carefully. Ranged attacks would be useful. Most devils have some form of energy projection. Good point, Dante agreed. Ad could throw energy spears that would put a railgun to shame. Let's see if little brother inherited the talent. This proved more challenging. While Naruto could channel devil energy through existing weapons or form it into blades, projecting it at a distance required a different conceptualization. His first attempts produced nothing but wisps of silver mist that dissipated harmlessly midair. You're thinking about it wrong. Trish intervened after several failed attempts. You're approaching this like a jutsu, technique-based, externalized. Devil abilities come from within, extensions of yourself. Try this, Dante suggested. Remember how it feels when you're truly angry, not the hot, quick anger, but the cold determination to eliminate a threat. That's the emotional pathway to ranged devil attacks. Naruto closed his eyes, searching for that feeling. He thought of pain destroying Konoha, of Sasuke consumed by hatred, of Neji dying in his arms. Cold resolve crystallized within him, not rage, but absolute certainty that threats to those he cared about must be eliminated. The devil energy responded instantly. When Naruto opened his eyes and thrust his palm toward the target, a javelin of concentrated silver-white power launched from his hand, striking the reinforced dummy with enough force to punch completely through it and embed in the earth wall 50 meters beyond. Nice, Dante whistled appreciatively. Definitely got Dad's talent for range devastation. Naruto stared at his hand, surprised by the power and how naturally it had manifested once he found the right emotional trigger. Unlike chakra techniques that drained his energy reserves, this had barely registered as an expenditure. The emotional component is key, Gloria explained, approaching to examine the damage. Devil abilities are fundamentally linked to will and identity. Your human emotions provide focus and direction to demonic power that would otherwise remain chaotic. Which is why half-B reads like us have advantages pure demons lack, Dante added. We can channel power through emotional pathways they can't access or understand. The training continued through various applications, defensive barriers, enhanced physical abilities, sensory expansion. By midday, Naruto had grasped the fundamental principles, though mastery would clearly require much more practice. As they paused for water and assessment, Hinata approached hesitantly. Throughout the session, she had observed with her Byakugan active, tracking the flow of energies through Naruto's system. Naruto, she said softly, your chakra network is adapting remarkably. The devil energy is creating new pathways alongside existing ones, rather than disrupting them. Is that good? He asked, gratefully accepting the water bottle she offered. It's unprecedented, she replied. Most foreign energies would damage or corrupt a chakra network. Yours is evolving. Her pale eyes held concern mixed with something knowledge or insight she seemed reluctant to share. Hinata, is there something else? Naruto prompted gently, sensing her hesitation. She glanced toward the others, who were engaged in technical discussion about the next phase of training. Not here, she whispered. Later, we should talk privately. Before Naruto could press further, Trish called them back to the center of the training ground. Time for the main event, she announced. Devil Trigger Initiation. Dante, who had been casually spinning his sword like a toy, suddenly grew serious. Fair warning, kid, this part's going to hurt. First transformation always does. Quote, what exactly is Devil Trigger? Naruto asked, unease settling in his stomach. The manifestation of your true devil form, Trish explained. A partial trance formation that amplifies your abilities exponentially while accessing powers unique to your devil bloodline. Think of it as a demonic sage mode, Lady added, knowing this parallel would resonate with Naruto. That comparison helped clarify the concept. So it's a temporary state where my devil nature becomes dominant. Exactly, Dante confirmed. In my case, he closed his eyes briefly, and power erupted around him. His form shifted, human features overlaid with demonic aspects, skin hardening into red-tinged scales, eyes glowing with internal fire, ghostly wings manifesting behind his shoulders. His voice deepened, carrying supernatural harmonics as he continued, it looks something like this. The transformation was both beautiful and terrifying, power incarnate, barely contained in humanoid form. After a moment, Dante released the state, returning to his normal appearance with practiced ease. Your form will be different, he explained, shaking off residual energy. Each bloodline manifests uniquely, and your sage heritage will influence the outcome. The first transformation is the hardest, Trish added. Your human consciousness resists surrendering control, while our devil aspect fights to dominate rather than integrate. And with the 9 tails added to the equation, Lady didn't need to finish the thought. The potential complications were obvious. Naruto considered the risks, then squared his shoulders. What do I need to do? Find the trigger, Dante said simply. The emotional switch that completes the circuit between your human and devil natures. For Dante, it's protecting others. Trish explained. For some, it's rage or fear or pain. The trigger is unique to each individual, something fundamental to your core identity. Naruto closed his eyes, searching inward. Beyond his chakra, beyond even the 9 tails sealed power, he could feel his awakened devil blood, a reservoir of energy both foreign and intimately familiar. He probed at it experimentally, feeling how it responded to different emotional states. Anger caused it to stir, but not ignite. Fear made it recoil. Determination made it resonate, but not transform. What else was core to his being? What defined him at his most fundamental level? Connection, he realized suddenly. His bonds with others, the precious people he'd gathered throughout his lonely childhood, the actions he'd fought so hard to establish and maintain. Even with Sasuke at his darkest, Naruto had refused to sever their bond. The devil energy responded instantly, surging through his system like liquid fire. Pain followed, excruciating, cellular-level agony as his physical form began to shift, accommodating aspects of his supernatural heritage that human flesh was never designed to express. Naruto fell to his knees, a strangled cry escaping his lips. Through watering eyes, he saw his skin hardening, taking on a faint scale-like pattern that caught light like mother of pearl. His fingernails extended into claws, sharp enough to gouge the stone beneath him effortlessly. The 9 tails roared within its seal, the demonic transformation resonating with its own nature. For a terrifying moment, Naruto felt the boundary between them thin dangerously, the fox's consciousness bleeding into his own. The seal, Tsunade shouted from the observation area. It's destabilizing. Dante moved with blinding speed, placing one hand on Naruto's shoulder. Focus, kid. The fox is responding to your transformation. You need to establish dominance, now. Fighting through the pain, Naruto directed his attention to the seal. Within his mindscape, the 9 tails strained against its cage, tails lashing, eyes fixed on him with burning intensity. This power, it growled, not with hostility but with something like recognition. This is what I sensed in you from the beginning. Neither human nor demon nor beast, but something new. Help me control it, Naruto gasped, speaking both aloud and within his mind. Work with me, not against me. The fox studied him for a long moment, then did something unprecedented. It bowed its massive head. Very well, Dragon Sage. Show me what we can become together. The cooperation changed everything. Devil energy and the 9 tails chakra harmonized rather than conflicted, creating a synergy that accelerated the transformation. Power exploded upward as Naruto's devil trigger fully activated. The observers stepped back involuntarily as light erupted from Naruto's form, not the red of Dante's transformation or the orange of the 9 tails chakra, but a brilliant silver blue tinged with violet at its edges. When it subsided, Naruto stood transformed. His appearance combined elements of traditional devil forms with unique aspects reflecting his mixed heritage. Luminescent scales covered his forearms and shoulders in patterns reminiscent of the seal's draconic markings. His hair had lengthened slightly, streaked with silver among the blonde. His eyes glowed with inner light, azure rings surrounding slitted pupils, with the violet inner ring now radiating its own supernatural luminescence. Most dramatically, spectral wings had manifested behind him, not bat-like as in Dante's form, but feathered, composed of energy rather than physical matter, shifting between blue, silver, and violet as they moved. Well, Dante said after a moment of stunned silence. That's definitely not standard issue. Lady approached cautiously, weapons half raised. Naruto, are you still in control? When he spoke, his voice carried the same harmonic undertones Dante's had, but with an additional resonance that seemed to vibrate the air itself. I'm here. It's incredible, He examined his transformed arms with wonder. I can feel everything, the air currents, electromagnetic fields, the subtle movements of the earth beneath us. The sensory expansion is normal, Trish confirmed, circling him with professional interest. But your form is unlike anything I've seen before. The wings particularly, they're not traditional devil appendages. They're sage manifestations, Hinata said suddenly, her Byakugan active. Similar to the chakra patterns in advanced sage transformation, but merged with devil energy to create physical form. Gloria approached, studying Naruto with analytical precision. A true hybrid state. Devil power structured through sage methodology. Filtered through human consciousness, with the Nine Tails energy as catalyst. In other words, Dante summarized with a grin, baby brother hit the supernatural lottery. How's it feel, kid? Naruto flexed his transformed hands, feeling power thrumming through every cell. Like I could tear mountains apart. The admission troubled him even as he spoke it, the sheer destructive potential at his fingertips was both exhilarating and terrifying. That feeling is normal, Dante assured him, recognizing his concern. The devil side always wants to flex, to dominate. Earning to channel it constructively takes practice. And right now, Lady interjected practically, we need to make sure you can turn it off as easily as you turned it on. Staying transformed too long can strain your human physiology. Naruto nodded, then frowned. How exactly do I deactivate it? Reverse the emotional pathway, Trish instructed. If connection triggered the transformation, temporarily focus on individuality, your separate, human identity. It sounded simple, but proved challenging. The devil trigger state felt so natural, so right, that his consciousness resisted relinquishing it. Only by deliberately focusing on memories of his human life, ramen at Ichiraku's, training with Jiraiya, studying for academy exams, did Naruto manage to initiate the reversal. The transformation receded gradually, spectral wings dissolving first, followed by the scales and other physical changes. When it completed, Naruto swayed on his feet, suddenly exhausted. Dante caught his arm, steadying him. Not bad for a first attempt, he approved. Most can't hold the form that long initially, and fewer can release it voluntarily. The energy expenditure is significant, Gloria noted, scanning him with some device Naruto didn't recognize. But your reserves are already beginning to replenish. Your recovery rate exceeds standard parameters for new devil bloods. Probably the Nine Tails influence, Tsunade suggested, approaching to conduct her own medical assessment. Its chakra has always accelerated Naruto's healing and recovery. Kakashi, who had observed the entire session silently, finally spoke. This transformation, will it respond to emotional triggers in combat situations? We need to know if Naruto might shift involuntarily under stress. Possible but unlikely, Trish answered. The initial transformation breaks the barrier. Subsequent ones require deliberate activation unless the subject experiences extreme trauma or life-threatening danger. Still, Dante added, daily practice is recommended. The more familiar you become with the state, the more control you maintain, and the less energy it requires to sustain. Tsunade nodded decisively. Then that becomes part of your training regimen. 2 hours daily focusing specifically on transformation control. She turned to Naruto. How are you feeling? Tired, he admitted, but good. Like they found something I didn't know was missing. Her expression softened momentarily. Get some rest. We'll continue tomorrow. As the group dispersed, Hinata lingered, clearly waiting for an opportunity to speak privately. Naruto nodded to her, indicating he remembered her earlier request. I'll catch up later, he told Dante, who raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. When the others had moved out of earshot, Naruto turned to Hinata. You wanted to talk, she nodded, uncharacteristically serious. Not here. The Hyuga Sanctuary would be more appropriate. Can you meet me there at sunset? The request surprised him. The sanctuary was a sacred space within the Hyuga compound, rarely open to outsiders. Of course, but, what's this about, Hinata? She hesitated, lavender eyes troubled. I haven't been entirely honest with you, Naruto. About what I can see with my Byakugan when I look at you. About what I've always seen. Before he could press further, she turned and walked away, leaving Naruto with more questions than answers. The Hyuga Sanctuary occupied the heart of the clan's compound, a structure more ancient than Konoha itself, predating the village's founding by centuries. Constructed of pale stone that seemed to glow in the evening light, it stood apart from the traditional architecture surrounding it, its design reminiscent of temples from lands far beyond the elemental nations. Naruto arrived at sunset as requested, escorted through the compound by a branch family member who remained respectfully silent. The sanctuary's entrance featured massive doors carved with intricate patterns that, Naruto now realized, bore striking similarities to the draconic markings on his altered seal. Hinata awaited him inside, dressed not in her usual attire but in formal robes of white and pale blue. The sanctuary's interior was a single circular chamber with a domed ceiling displaying celestial patterns. At the center stood a raised dais with an alabaster altar, upon which rested a single object covered by silk cloth. "Thank you for coming," Hinata said, her voice echoing slightly in the sacred space. "What I need to share with you should have been revealed years ago. But clan laws and village politics prevented it." "You're scaring me a little," Naruto admitted, noting how the normally shy Hinata moved with surprising authority within this space, as if occupying a role she had been born to fulfill. She smiled faintly. "Fear isn't necessary, but caution is appropriate." She approached the altar, gesturing for him to join her. The Hyuga clan's Byaku Gon is generally understood as a dojutsu that allows us to see chakra networks and through solid objects. What's less known is its original purpose, which was to monitor dimensional boundaries. Hinata placed her hands on the covered object. The earliest Hyuga weren't combat specialists but guardians, sensors who could detect weaknesses in the veil between worlds and alert those tasked with repairing such breaches. Naruto's breath caught. "The Dragon Covenant. Your clan worked with them." "The Hyuga were essentially the Covenant's early warning system," she confirmed. "While we lost much of the original knowledge over generations, certain abilities remained, including the capacity to recognize those with Covenant blood." Understanding dawned. "You knew. All this time, you could see something different in me." Hinata nodded. "From our first meeting as children. Your chakra network has always had characteristics, unlike anyone else's. Patterns that resonated at frequencies beyond normal human range." She pulled the silk cloth away, revealing an ancient scroll case marked with symbols matching Naruto's seal. "When your blood fully awakened 2 days ago," this artifact responded. "It's been in my family's keeping for centuries, with instructions to present it to the dragon's child, should they ever appear." Naruto approached cautiously, feeling his devil blood stirring in response to the artifact. "What is it?" "A message, we believe, left by the last full dragon sage before your mother." Hinata opened the case, removing a scroll that seemed impossibly well preserved despite its obvious age. "It can only be read by one with the appropriate bloodline." She offered the scroll to Naruto, who accepted it with reverent care. The moment his fingers touched the parchment, the seal dissolved, just as Sparda's had, and the scroll unrolled itself. Ancient script covered its surface, initially unintelligible, then shifting before his eyes into readable text. Naruto began to read aloud. "To the dragon's child, when the convergence threatens. If you read these words, the barriers between worlds thin once more. The cycle repeats, as it has countless times through the ages. What most believed to be separate realms were once a unified whole, sundered by necessity when the darkness grew too powerful, too corrupting." Asterisk. The Sparda bloodline and the Dragon Cov. Anant share a common purpose despite their different origins, to maintain the necessary separation of worlds until humanity's light grows strong enough to exist alongside darkness without being consumed by it. Asterisk. But there are those who seek premature convergence, who would sacrifice countless lives to rule over a unified realm. They will sense your awakening, child of two worlds, and seek to use our unique nature either as key or obstacle to their ambitions. Asterisk. Beneath the sacred mountain in the land of perpetual winter lies the Nexus Temple, the original site where worlds were first divided. There you will find the truth of your heritage and the means to fulfill your purpose, whatever you determine that to be. Asterisk. The choice must be yours, freely made. For power coerced serves only destruction. Asterisk. Yushin, last sage of the Covenant Council. Silence fell as Naruto finished reading. The scroll rolled itself closed, its purpose fulfilled. The land of perpetual winter, Naruto murmured. The land of iron, where Mordrath wants to meet. The sacred mountain must be the central peak where the samurai fortress stands, Hinata reasoned. If this Nexus temple exists beneath it, then Mordrath's invitation wasn't random. Naruto concluded grimly. He's trying to lure me to the Nexus, just as this Yushin suggests someone would. Hinata's expression grew troubled. There's something else you should know. The Hyuga archives contain references to a previous convergence attempt, roughly 1,000 years ago. It failed, but the accounts describe devastating consequences, entire regions rendered uninhabitable. Countless lives lost, and if Mordrath succeeds this time, the archives don't specify, but they suggest a successful convergence would fundamentally alter the nature of reality itself. Her pale eyes held genuine fear. Some texts imply it would allow the strongest demonic entities to reshape the unified world according to their will. Naruto carefully returned the scroll to its case. Why didn't you tell me about this sooner? About what you could see in me? Hinata's cheeks colored slightly, a glimpse of her usual shyness breaking through her formal demeanor. At first, I didn't understand the significance myself. I was a child, seeing patterns no one had taught me to recognize. Later, when I researched our clan's ancient records, I found references to covenant bloodlines and realized what you might be. And then I was sworn to secrecy by my father and the Hokage, she admitted. They believed the knowledge might be dangerous, to you and to the village. That it might attract unwanted attention. Her expression turned apologetic. I wanted to tell you many times. Especially after the war, when your power kept growing in ways that clearly weren't just the Nine Tails. Naruto absorbed this, processing the complex emotions it raised. Disappointment at secrets kept, understanding of the reasons behind them, gratitude that Hinata had finally shared the truth. Thank you for telling me now, he said finally. For trusting me with this. She stepped closer, uncharacteristically bold. I've always trusted you, Naruto. With everything. The admission carried weight beyond the current situation, referencing feelings she had declared during Pain's attack and they had never properly addressed. Before Naruto could formulate a response, the sanctuary doors opened. Admitting Neji, he bowed respectfully to both of them. Forgive the interruption, Lady Hinata, but you're needed for an emergency clan meeting. And Naruto, the Hokage has requested your immediate presence. There's been another major incursion, this time within the village itself. Chaos greeted them as they exited the Hyuga compound. Smoke rose from Konoha's eastern sector, accompanied by the unmistakable sounds of combat. Ambush squads raced across rooftops toward the disturbance, while civilians moved in the opposite direction under Chunin escort. This way, Neji directed, leading them toward the Hokage Tower rather than the apparent battle site. The command center had been fully activated, with sensor ninjas monitoring the situation and coordinating response teams. Tsunade stood before a large tactical display, issuing orders with rapid precision. Dante, Trish, and Lady were already present, armed and ready. Naruto, Tsunade acknowledged his arrival. The situation is evolving rapidly. Approximately 20 minutes ago, a dimensional breach opened in the market district. Initial incursion was small. 3 Hell Prides, quickly eliminated by Anbu. Then this appeared. She gestured to the display, which showed live footage from a reconnaissance team. A swirling portal approximately 4 meters in diameter hovered above the market square. Its edges crackling with unstable energy. As they watched, something emerged, a serpentine form with multiple heads, each crowned with twisted horns. Hydra Demon, Lady identified grimly. Mid-tier but dangerous. Regenerates unless you destroy all heads simultaneously. That's not the primary concern, Trish added, pointing to energy readings displayed alongside the footage. The portal is expanding. Its dimensional frequency is unusual. Gloria, who had been analyzing data on a separate screen, looked up sharply. It's a summoning gate, not a natural breach. Someone is deliberately opening a path directly to this location. Quote, Mordrath, Tsunade asked. Unlikely, Dante replied, checking his weapons. This lacks his signature subtlety. More like someone trying to get our attention. Well, they have it, Naruto said, studying the tactical display. What's the plan? Containment and closure, Tsunade decided. Dante, Lady, Trish, you handle the Hydra and anything else that comes through. Naruto and a support team will focus on collapsing the portal itself. I should be on the front line, Naruto objected. My devil trigger is exactly why you need to focus on the portal, Gloria interrupted. Your hybrid energy signature might be able to disrupt the summoning frequency. If this is a targeted provocation, using you for direct combat could be playing into their strategy. Dante nodded agreement. She's right, kid. Closing the door is priority 1. We can handle the housekeeping. Reluctantly, Naruto accepted the logic. Who's on my support team? Hinata, for visual monitoring of energy patterns. Tsunade replied. Sakura for medical support, and Sai for aerial reconnaissance and barrier jutsu if needed. The team assembled quickly, each member arriving prepared for combat. Sakura gave Naruto a concerned once-over as they gathered. How are you feeling after this morning's training? That transformation looked intense. I'm fine, he assured her. Recovered faster than expected. Your chakra network has fully integrated the devil energy, Hinata confirmed, Byakugan active. The pathways have stabilized in their new configuration. Tsunade provided final instructions as they prepared to deploy. Your objective is portal closure only. Leave demon engagement to the specialized team unless absolutely necessary. If the situation escalates beyond containment parameters, priority shifts to civilian evacuation. Questions? There were none. The mission was clear, the stakes obvious. Then move out, Tsunade ordered. And Naruto? She paused, her amber eyes conveying concern she wouldn't express in front of the others. Be careful, we still don't fully understand what you're becoming. The statement might have seemed ominous from anyone else. From Tsunade, it was simply pragmatic caution from someone who cared. I will, he promised, then led his team from the command center. They took to the rooftops, the most direct route to the market district. Dante's team had departed moments earlier but was already out of sight, moving with supernatural speed that even trained ninjas would struggle to match. Portal's energy signature is fluctuating, Hinata reported as they ran. Dimensional frequency shifting between at least 3 distinct patterns. What does that mean practically? Sakura asked. It's cycling through different demonic realms. Naruto translated, the knowledge coming from somewhere deep in his awakened blood. Like a combination lock trying different sequences. Searching for something specific, Sai suggested. Ink birds scouting ahead of them. Or someone, Naruto confirmed grimly. They arrived at the market square to find battle already engaged. The Hydra demon thrashed among destroyed stalls, its 7 heads striking with viper-like speed at Dante, who dodged with impossible grace while severing heads that promptly began regenerating. Lady provided covering fire from a rooftop, her specialized ammunition temporarily slowing the regeneration process. Trish darted between the creature's coils, electricity coruscating around her hands as she attacked its main body. Above it all, the portal pulsed with increasing intensity. Now nearly 6 meters in diameter and still expanding. Its surface rippled like disturbed water, occasional glimpses of alien landscapes visible through the fluctuating barrier. Hinata, what can you tell me about the portal's structure? Naruto asked, assessing approach vectors. Her Byakugan focused on the dimensional tier. It's anchored at 7 points around its circumference. Each anchor corresponds to a specific energy frequency. She pointed to positions around the portal. There, do you see the distortions? Naruto activated his enhanced devil senses, pushing his perception beyond normal human range. The anchors became visible, pulsing nodes of concentrated energy tethering the portal to this reality. I see them. If we disrupt those anchors, the portal should collapse, Hinata confirmed. But they're heavily shielded. Conventional chakra techniques might not affect them. Naruto nodded, decision made. Then we use unconventional techniques. Sai, I need an aerial platform. Get me directly above the portal. Sakura, be ready to catch me if this goes sideways. Hinata, guide me to the anchor points in sequence, weakest to strongest. Sai immediately created a large ink bird, solid enough to support Naruto's weight. This will dissolve after 3 minutes, he warned. Plan accordingly. Naruto leapt onto the construct, which immediately ascended toward the portal. Below, the battle intensified as new entities emerged from the dimensional tear, humanoid demons wielding elaborate weapons, more tactically coordinated than the mindless prides they'd encountered previously. 7 sins, he heard Lady shout. Watch the scythes. They drain life force on contact. From his aerial vantage, Naruto could see the entire battlefield. Dante had shifted strategy, now using a pair of ornate pistols to keep multiple targets at bay while Trish engaged the newcomers directly. Their teamwork showed years of practice, each anticipating the other's movements without explicit coordination. First anchor at your 2 o'clock position, Hinata called from below. It's fluctuating more than the others, possibly the weakest link. Naruto directed the ink bird into position, hovering directly above the identified anchor point. Now came the challenging part. His devil abilities worked best in close combat. Could he generate enough focus power at a distance to disrupt the portal's structure? Only one way to find out. Naruto closed his eyes briefly, centering himself, then activated a partial devil trigger, not the full transformation, but enough to access his supernatural abilities without the physical changes. Silver azure energy surrounded his hands as he channeled power in the way Dante had taught him that morning. Here goes nothing, he muttered, then thrust both palms downward, projecting concentrated devil energy directly into the anchor point. The result exceeded his expectations. The anchor node flared blindingly as his power connected with it, vibrating at a frequency that produced an eerie, keening wail audible even above the battle noise. Cracks appeared in its structure, not physical but dimensional, reality itself fracturing under the strain of conflicting supernatural forces. With a sound like shattering glass, the first anchor collapsed. Immediately, the portal's perfect circular shape distorted, section beginning to fold inward like fabric with a pin removed. It's working, Sakura called. The portal is destabilizing. Next anchor at 9 o'clock, Hinata directed. Hurry. The remaining nodes are compensating, drawing additional power to maintain stability. Naruto guided the ink bird to the next position, repeating the process. The second anchor proved more resilient, requiring sustained application of power before it finally collapsed. The effort drained him more than expected, his partial devil trigger flickering as energy reserves depleted. 4 more to go, he gasped, fighting to maintain concentration. Something's coming through, Sai warned from below. Something big. The portal's surface bulged outward as something massive pressed against the dimensional barrier from the other side. Despite the 2 collapsed anchors, the tear was stabilizing again, drawing power from some external source to maintain its integrity. We need to collapse it now, before whatever that is gets through, Sakura shouted. Naruto made a split-second decision. Instead of targeting the anchors individually, he would overload the entire system simultaneously. It would require full devil trigger, and likely every ounce of power he could muster. Everyone clear the area directly beneath the portal, he commanded. I'm going to force a total collapse. Without waiting for confirmation, Naruto activated his complete devil trigger. The transformation came easier this time, power flowing through pathways established during morning training. His spectral wings manifested instantly, allowing him to leap from the deteriorating ink bird and hover under his own power. Within his mindscape, he addressed the Nine Tails directly. I need your cooperation again. Channel your chakra through the altered seal. Let it mix with the devil energy. The fox studied him with those ancient, knowing eyes. What you attempt is dangerous, Kit. Forcing a dimensional collapse could create a backlash that destroys the wielder. I know, Naruto acknowledged. But the alternative might be worse. After a moment's consideration, the Nine Tails nodded its massive head. Very well, but remember, even your remarkable healing has limits. Its chakra flowed freely into Naruto's system, orange-red energy intertwining with silver azure devil power. The combination created something new, a tricolor aura of orange, silver, and violet that surrounded Naruto's transformed form like living flame. Below, even Dante paused momentarily in his battle, sensing the unprecedented energy gathering above. Everybody down, he shouted, recognizing what was coming. Naruto positioned himself directly above the center of the destabilizing portal. The bulge from the other side had become more pronounced. A massive shape now visible through the dimensional membrane, something with multiple limbs and what appeared to be a crowned head. Not today, Naruto growled, his voice carrying those otherworldly harmonics. He drew on everything he had. Devil power, sage techniques, the Nine Tails chakra, his own indomitable will, compressing it into a single point between his palms. What formed wasn't a Rasengan or any recognized jutsu, but something more fundamental, a concentrated singularity of hybrid energy, neither fully demonic nor human nor Biju, but transcending all three categories. With a wordless cry that echoed across dimensions, Naruto drove the energy sphere directly into the portal's center. For a heartbeat, nothing happened, as if reality itself held its breath. Then the laws of physics reasserted themselves with catastrophic force. The portal imploded, collapsing inward with such violence that it created a vacuum effect, pulling nearby debris toward its center before vanish. Hing with a thunderclap that shattered windows throughout the district. The dimensional tear sealed itself, edges knitting together as if the breach had never existed. The backlash hit Naruto like a physical blow, sending him tumbling through the air. His devil trigger dissolved instantly, power reserves depleted beyond what even his extraordinary recovery abilities could immediately replenish. As consciousness faded, he felt gravity reclaim him, his body plummeting toward the market square below. His last sensation was of strong arms catching him mid-fall, Dante, moving with impossible speed to intercept his descent. "Not bad, little brother," came his half-brother's voice, admiration evident despite the concern. "Reckless as hell, but effective. Definitely a family trait." Then darkness claimed him completely. Dreams engulfed Naruto, vivid, disjointed images that felt more like memories than imagination. He stood beside a towering figure in purple armor, watching as patterns of light were inscribed into ancient stone. He soared above mountain peaks on wings of pure energy, surveying boundaries between worlds visible only to specialized perception. He witnessed beings of pure darkness and pure light engaged in eternal, cyclical conflict across multiple realities. Through it all ran a consistent thread: balance. The necessity of separation. The danger of premature convergence. He awoke gradually, consciousness returning in incremental stages. First came awareness of his body, exhausted but intact, no significant injuries. Then awareness of his surroundings, the familiar antiseptic smell of Konoha Hospital. The soft beep of monitoring equipment, the presence of others nearby. Naruto opened his eyes to find he wasn't in a standard hospital room but a specialized containment unit in the secure medical wing. Seals covered the walls, not for restraint but for monitoring and energy suppression. A precaution, then, not a punishment. Tsunade stood at the foot of his bed, reviewing charts with Sakura. Dante lounged against the far wall, pretending disinterest but watching everything with sharp eyes. Hinata sat beside the bed, her quiet vigilance suggesting she had been there for some time. "Welcome back," Tsunade said, noticing he was awake. "How do you feel?" Naruto took a moment for honest self-assessment. "Like I've been trampled by a summoning herd, then thrown off a mountain. But otherwise okay." "Your energy levels were critically depleted," Sakura informed him, professional concern overriding their usual casual interaction. "The combined strain of Devil Trigger and whatever technique you used to collapse the portal nearly burned out your entire system." "But didn't," Dante added cheerfully. "Gotta say, kid, you recover faster than anyone I've seen this side of, well, me. Must be the fox helping out." "The Nine Tails contributed significantly to your recovery," Tsunade confirmed. "Though the interaction between its chakra and your devil energy created some interesting effects." "What kind of effects?" Naruto asked warily. Hinata answered, her soft voice steady. "Your chakra network has evolved again. The separate pathways for evil energy and regular chakra have begun to merge in places, creating hybrid channels capable of conducting both simultaneously." "Is that dangerous?" "Unknown," Tsunade admitted. "There's no medical precedent for this condition. But theoretically, it should allow greater efficiency in techniques that combine both energy types." "Like whatever you did to that portal," Dante interjected. "That was no standard devil ability. Not something I could do, even at full power." Naruto's brow furrowed as he tried to recall exactly what he had done. The technique had come instinctively, without conscious formulation or named jutsu. "It felt like compressing reality itself," he said finally. "Like I could sense the dimensional frequencies and generate a counter-vibration that neutralized them." "That," Gloria said from the doorway, having arrived silently during their conversation, would be your Dragon Sage heritage manifesting. The Covenant specialized in manipulating dimensional frequencies, essentially, tuning reality like an instrument. Combined with Sparda's devil power and the Nine Tails ancient chakra, Trish appeared beside Gloria, completing the thought. You may have unintentionally accessed abilities neither bloodline possesses independently. The Dragon Sage Devil, Naruto murmured, recalling Sparda's words from the scroll. Is that what I'm becoming? It appears so, Tsunade confirmed. Though what that fully entails, none of us can say with certainty. Naruto absorbed this, then addressed the practical concern. The portal, it's completely closed. No more demons coming through. Sealed tight, Dante assured him. Whatever was trying to push through got cut off mid-transit. Probably having a very bad day right now. His expression turned more serious. But the attempt itself is concerning. That wasn't a natural breach or random incursion. Someone targeted Konoha specifically, Lady added, entering with 2 steaming cups, one of which she handed to Dante. A direct challenge, or a test, Gloria suggested. Probing defenses, assessing response capabilities. Particularly Naruto's capabilities, Trish noted. The timing is suspicious. Immediately after his first Devil Trigger training, as if someone wanted to see what he could do with his new abilities. Mordrath, Naruto concluded grimly. Testing me before our scheduled meeting. The reminder of the pending invitation created a palpable tension in the room. 3 days had been reduced to 2, with no consensus yet on how to approach the Demon Lord's request. About that, Tsunade said. We've received communications from the Land of Iron. Their samurai patrols report unusual activity around the central mountain. Lights, unexplained energy readings, disappearances. The Nexus Temple, Hinata said quietly. It must be awakening in response to the dimensional instabilities. All eyes turned to her in surprise. Naruto realized he hadn't yet shared what they had discovered in the Hyuga Sanctuary. Quickly, he explained about the ancient scroll, the Dragon Covenant's connection to the Hyuga clan, and the revelation about the Nexus Temple beneath the sacred mountain in the Land of Iron. So Mordrath didn't choose the meeting location randomly, Tsunade concluded when he finished. He wants you at the Nexus for a specific purpose. The convergence, Gloria said, expression troubled. If legends are correct, the Nexus is where dimensions were first separated. It would logically be the focal point for reunification. But why invite Naruto openly? Sakura questioned. Why not simply try to capture him, if he's so crucial to this plan? Because he can't be coerced, Dante answered unexpectedly. At least, not for this particular purpose. Dad was big on free will clauses in his major workings. If this nexus was created with his involvement, it probably has safeguards against forced activation. Mordrath needs my willing participation, Naruto realized. That's why he's trying to persuade rather than capture me. And why he might be feeding you selective truths, Trish cautioned. Manipulation often succeeds where force fails. Naruto considered this, then made a decision that surprised even himself. I need to see this Nexus Temple. Regardless of Mordrath's invitation, the answers I need, about my heritage, my purpose, what I'm becoming, seem to be there. That's exactly what he wants, Lady objected. I know, Naruto acknowledged. But sometimes the path forward lies through the obvious trap, not around it. Dante grinned suddenly. Now you're thinking like a Sparda. Dad was famous for walking straight into situations everyone told him to avoid. His expression sobered slightly. Of course, he was also nearly invincible and had about 2,000 years of combat experience, so maybe not the best role model for risk assessment. If you're determined to go, Tsunade said, recognizing the resolve in Naruto's eyes, then we prepare thoroughly. No solo heroics. A coordinated operation with contingencies for every scenario we can anticipate. And a few we can't, Dante added cheerfully. The fun ones usually aren't in the plan anyway. Naruto nodded agreement, then swung his legs over the bed's edge. How soon can I get out of here? If we're going to the Land of Iron, we need to prepare. Your recovery is remarkable but incomplete, Tsunade cautioned. Another 12 hours of observation would be prudent. Or, Dante suggested, he could finish recovering while we travel. The journey gives him time to rest, and puts us in position sooner. After a moment's consideration, Tsunade reluctantly agreed. On one condition. No training, no devil transformations, no techniques until your energy levels stabilize completely. Medical authority overrides mission requirements on this point. Agreed, Naruto promised, standing carefully. His body felt weaker than he would have liked, but functional. When do we leave? Dawn tomorrow, Tsunade decided. That gives us 18 hours to prepare, and puts us at the Land of Iron with time to reconnoiter before Mordrath's proposed meeting. As the group dispersed to prepare for the mission, Hinata lingered behind. When they were alone, she approached Naruto with uncharacteristic directness. There's something else you should know before we depart, she said. Voice barely above a whisper despite their privacy. Something about the Dragon Sage bloodline that isn't in the official records. Naruto sensed the gravity in her tone. What is it? The Covenant wasn't just about maintaining dimensional boundaries, she explained. They were gatekeepers, capable not only of sealing breaches but of creating controlled passages between worlds. You're saying I might be able to create portals? Like the one we just collapsed? She nodded. But with precision, stability. The Hyuga records suggest advanced dragon sages could move between dimensions at will, without the catastrophic effects of forced breaches. The implications were staggering. If true, such ability would make him uniquely valuable in the coming conflict, able to counter Mordrath's incursions at their source rather than just responding to breaches after they occurred. Why tell me this privately? He asked. This seems like critical information for the whole team. Hinata's pale eyes held his steadily. Because the records also warn that such ability comes with temptation. The power to move between worlds has corrupted Covenant members before, led them to believe they should control which worlds connect, which remain separate, that they should decide the fate of entire dimensions. You're worried I might be corrupted by this power? No, she said with surprising certainty. I'm worried others might fear that possibility and try to control you because of it. Your choices should remain your own, Naruto, especially now, when so many forces are attempting to manipulate you toward their own ends. Her concern touched him deeply. Throughout his life, few had trusted him with information that might be considered dangerous, and fewer still had prioritized his autonomy over perceived safety. Thank you, he said simply, knowing she would understand the depth of gratitude behind those two words. She smiled, a subtle blush coloring her cheeks. Just be careful at the Nexus. Ancient powers often have ancient agendas, regardless of who wields them. With that cryptic warning, she departed, leaving Naruto to contemplate the evolving nature of his abilities and the true purpose behind Mordrath's invitation to the place where worlds were first divided, and might soon be rejoined. Chapter 3 End. The End. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.